Hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to a Tabletop Misfits production of A World of Darkness story, Night of the Wyrm. We, of course, are combining the games Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse, as we've done in the three preceding chapters, and tonight you're joining us for Chapter 4. Before we get started in earnest, however, I would love to be able to introduce both our monsters and myself. Since my mic is hot, I'll start. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam. You can find me online as @DungeonSamster, and I will be all the characters not being played by these yahoos. And I'm going to popcorn to Alex. Since you weren't here last time, welcome back.
Thank you. Tamsin's had a lovely trip and she's back. But yes, I'm Alex. I'm here. I'm playing Dr. Tamsin Newman, the Philodox Glasswalker Guru. And I'll popcorn it over to my brother Ben up here.
All right, I am Tabletop Misfits, and I'm playing Ben tonight. I am the Aru pack leader of Portland, and I'm gonna pop this to our final wolf for the evening. That's you, Luca.
And hello, my name is Daddy Tarzan 82855. I'm one of the members of 2B Dice Adventures, and I am playing Luca Antonio Powell, a Ragabash Shadow Lord and Assassin. And let's go on over to my fellow 2B Dice member, Roz.
Hey guys, I'm Dia, also known as DiaVal.cos on all social media. I play our lovely Toreador, leading lady of a rock band known as The Delirium. Yeah, it's fun. I'm going to popcorn over to KJ.
Hello, everyone. I am KJ. You can find me at various forms of KJ cosplay because I couldn't trademark the same thing everywhere. And I play Flynn, our one of two Malkavian vampires who he's just doing his best. He's trying. To Cassandra.
And finally, last but not least, hi, I'm Classic Sam NYGM, Classic Sam NYGM on all social media platforms. And I play Cassandra, who may or may not be the real Cassandra from Troy. But, we'll figure that out eventually somewhere along the line. I don't know.
And just like Grecian legends, which would or would not include Cassandra, a quick reminder that World of Darkness stories do contain mature themes, and all the players around the table are not attempting to be assholes. Some actions taken in the game might be sensitive for viewers, and we just want to warn you all that we're not trying to be mean, but our characters might do mean stuff to each other. Without further ado, I do believe we will be diving back into the World of Darkness. And welcome back to the city of Portland. Last we saw our monsters, they converged on the Oracle's Quill, the occult bookstore and curio shop owned by our very own Cassandra. Aligning in this space, our monster squad actually discovered numerous sources of invasion. Not only did Luca discover the scent of a stolen moon, which is a non-guru being that has stolen the pelt and essence of the wolf from a formerly living werewolf. We also discovered signs of a mage incursion and hunters in the nearby vicinity. This is atop what we already understand to be spiritually driven and possibly non-spiritually driven kindred and guru, so vampires and werewolves, at war with each other within the city. There are numerous factions at play, and our characters have discovered that it is potentially safer and smarter to stick together than continue splitting apart. In addition, some books were discovered, signs of the activities that led to the kidnap of Corey, a touchstone figure in Cassandra's life, were similarly uncovered, and our characters otherwise interacted with each other in such a fashion that they understand they are currently allied, but they don't necessarily trust each other with the full truths of their backstories. Although they are not featured with us tonight, our wonderful friend, Sarah K. Babe, I believe, or Sarah J. Babe K. online, portrayed the Wisconsin-esque guru by the name of Wilco, who at the very end of that session had been kidnapped by said hunters in the area. And as we come back into this night's events, before we see what is happening with those hunters or where it is that we last left Tamsin away from the group, we're actually going to be zooming out of the Pacific Northwest, going instead to the American Southwest, but more along the coastline, all the way to the City of Angels, Los Angeles. Flynn, although you and I have had a chance to discuss in the background a little bit about your place here in the City of Angels, we haven't yet discussed the area of Los Angeles you would picture yourself in. No pressure to you, the actor playing the character, to have a firm knowledge of Los Angeles, but do you have an idea of where they fit in as we go possibly a decade and a half ago into the past down there in Los Angeles?
I would imagine based on very specifically Flynn's sire and what Flynn's sire did for work. Somewhere in the central hub, because his sire was a businessman in production and editorial work.
And you're absolutely right. This would stick us relatively close to the downtown area, the financial district, where it's mostly condos and apartments as opposed to homes. And Alexander does have a space set up for you in his multi-story apartment structure because he's actually quite successful in media relations, which is how he came to know you. And at the moment, let's say it's probably coming in around 2 a.m. and you more or less have the run of the place. Alexander, of course, has a couple of ghouls who take care of business, but they too are out on errand at the moment. And on the 22nd story of a medium rise building in the downtown area at the moment, you are alone in a space that is absolutely fit for a streamer. It's early 15 years ago for streaming, but Twitch is coming alive. And this is something that Alexander has keenly come to into awareness of being something that will take off. And you find yourself again in this space. What's Flynn doing while they're alone, possibly for the first time in a good long while?
I think Flynn kind of, after meeting Alexander, got into more of the publishing side of stuff. This was his start in journalism, in writing, as a subset, other-handed side of media creation. So he'd probably be looking over any left out papers or assignments that were kind of left out for him to look over and dig into, and is probably just taking a lazy morning because he knows if he's left by himself, there's not too much pressure to get anything done yet.
And even this far back into your unlife, you've had numerous voices warring for your attention because all of them have a story to tell or a means by which they can help you to tell other people's stories. But there's one voice in particular that can carve its way through the relative peace when you do find these moments yourself. It's a voice that you understand has nothing to do with Alexander, but it's a voice that seemingly has direct contact to your sire. And in a little bit of a reverie as you're doing some work this morning, knowing full well that you're just a few hours away from sunrise, you have just a little bit more time to get to the end of something you might be digging into at the moment. That voice sort of seeps in and says, "He needs to know, do you have company at this time?"
Not presently.
Disappointing. And unlike some of the other voices residing within your mind, this one has an uncanny ability to step away. You don't always get along with those individuals speaking within your mind, but you can usually conjure them as needed. This one, who has yet to identify themselves, if indeed they have an identity within your own, annoyingly has the ability to move away. And unlike other children of Malkov, who you understand sometimes feel the direct aspect of their sire in one of their many psyches, should they be following in that bloodline of Malkavian descent, this one seems eerily disconnected and always judgmental.
I think there's just that moment of like he can't help but roll his eyes in mild frustration, but just not being given instructions, not being told what to do or anything, just a simple question will just try to refocus his efforts along with the other voices of annoyance and frustration rattling around in his head, try to focus back on what he was doing.
A little bit of time passes, and without any sound whatsoever entering into this apartment space, no additional lights coming on despite those you know are left on, simply for the means of making appearances to the outside world, looking upon this tall building, that somebody absolutely lives here and they are an influential member of Los Angeles. Otherwise, why else would their lights be on at this time? You just feel the presence, and turning about, knowing that this individual of the 9th generation of vampires couldn't possibly be more than 100. Turning about, you notice Ed Hardy jeans, an Abercrombie and Fitch shirt, and a new copy, still in its plastic, of BioShock 2 in his hands. This unfortunately reeks as a powerful vampire who, by way of videos on YouTube and attempting to jump into this whole Twitch and other means of streaming game, is trying just a little bit too hard to be a vlogger and to be relevant by means of vlogging. And he looks at you, and as opposed to his "Hey, what's up, YouTube" personality that he reinvents in some way, shape, or form every couple of weeks, he speaks to you and just she was right. How many nights will you stay in this space? When I created you, I had no idea that you would stick around like this.
Respectfully, I do have a job, and I have work that I have to do, and most of that is on the internet, on a computer. If you would like me to find a different place to work, that can be arranged.
No, I need you where you are. I just don't always love that you're around without bringing anyone to play. And in the space wherein Flynn, still relatively young into their unlife relative to other vampires, may or may not have blinked just to simply maintain the masquerade that they have humanoid capabilities. That subtle potential blink, or potentially even just a twitch of the eye from input from the inner voices, gives cause for Alexander to be in front of you one moment, and the next you feel that blush of life, for he too spent a lot of his energy attempting to look alive, sort of over your shoulder. In the blink of an eye, he crosses a distance of no fewer than 40 feet and is rapidly reading through your work. And he just whispers, "Contrived, over accentuated, uninsightful. You don't bring anybody here with you. Your work is uninspired, though it does contribute to our means of staying relevant. Do I need more children, or do you think you can live up to what it is I brought you into this world for?"
Well, you don't tend to give me very many instructions, so it's hard to read your mind. Granted, I can't. I don't bring people because I don't have that kind of connection with people. All of that is in here.
Ah, yes, but also in there, and then speaking at the same exact time, give or take probably about 1/5 of a second, is that same annoying, tawdry voice. So the two voices coming at you at the same time, experience that you're all too familiar with, but not externally. You hear, "Ah, yes, but we are in there, aren't we? And I don't like having to repeat myself." An ironic statement, considering that it's said at the exact same time, twice.
There's this tension that builds in Flynn's shoulders as the frustration in him just continues to build, because this conversation has happened in many different words, many different times, and nothing has changed. No instructions, no clarifications, nothing. And he's getting to a point where he just doesn't know what to do anymore, and he just takes a really deep breath and tries to release some of that tension to not lose his cool, because he knows what can happen if he does.
And seeing your best attempts to control yourself, Alexander kind of throws on a smirk, a glib smile that not only comes from his attempted YouTube personality, but is just his entire self. A shit-eating grin he's mastered over decades, if not a full century at this point. And he turns and, at a just above average human speed, saunters over to the couch, turns on the PlayStation 3, and begins playing his goddamn game. He's one to, judge the activities that you're doing over here, attempting to do a job for this household that feeds into not only yours, but his needs. And he's going to play Bioshock 2, which didn't even seek to improve upon how Rapture was presented in the first of those games. This, of course, is one of the voices reaching out in your mind who, somehow unable to play the game himself, is already critiquing a poorly performing sequel. But as that continued rambling of a video game that Flynn may or may not have ever seen, heard about, or had interest in, what are your thoughts? Alexander, clearly unthreatened and similarly unbothered by you, moving off from this conversation as if your anger isn't worth addressing. You're not worth assuaging.
It starts small, just those little thoughts that you tend to have in the back of your mind that most of the time you don't pay attention to because it's not worth it. The energy isn't worth it. Just this again. I'm trying my best and I'm not seeing anything coming from it. He has no room to speak of what I'm doing when he's not bringing anything more into this household. He threatens me. He does all of these things, and I'm never getting rewards for the effort I'm putting in. Only chastisement, only these. And it just roils, and more conversation is being added from the other voices until it's this crowded mess of a room in his head of anger and frustration and disappointment and pent up everything. And I think as he knows that Alexander's attention is elsewhere, he's been forgotten about again. Probably for the first time, legitimately, not just fantasizing, but actually thinking about it, how it could happen. What if Alexander wasn't around anymore? What if I was my own boss? What if I didn't have to take orders from this man anymore? And then one voice, two voice, three voice pitches in. These are his strengths. These are his weaknesses. These are what we know. These are what could be in the way. This is how you could maybe get away with it. And slowly just accruing in his head this soft plan of, I could get rid of him and I could make it look like an accident.
And as these different voices pitch somewhat incredulous and at times actually quite possible means of dealing away with your sire, the core voice of Flynn, inside of Flynn, reminds himself that there is that other voice there that he isn't quite as much in control of. And as you think about that and how that individual might be just as much part of the conversation as the others, looking back down at your computer, or are you working from typewriter? I didn't ask. Are you that old school, or are you on a computer?
No, he would be on a computer. He would have, as soon as he got access to anything extra, like the new dates, he makes sure to integrate himself into the most updated platforms.
Respect. But as this conversation was happening internally, you're continuing work on whatever investigation it is you were attempting to do a write-up for, and considering that voice, that unnamed, not precisely welcome voice emitted amongst the cacophony of others, you zero in on words in the middle of a sentence that make absolutely no sense, and those words speak, "Do it." And we're going to rocket forward once again, a decade and a half, to the city of Portland. All of the windows in the Oracle's quill, those that had not yet been tarnished in some way, shape, or form, explode both inward and outward as two Guru shout out, one in Hispo form, the larger, more direwolf-like state that they're normally in, the other one in his sort of half-human, half-hybridized war form, and they shout into the night, angry at the wolf call that came from the streets of Portland beyond the store. Cassandra undoubtedly in the store, sighing and or screaming herself, just at the continued property damage to the Oracle's quill. All of you who are present, which is everybody on the camera besides Tamsin, you know that call is one of despair, and you know that it's not that far away. Do you communicate to the vampires that there's a need to run out into the streets right this moment, or the two of you take off? And I ask that only just now seeing Ben is not on camera.
I was going to see if he came back by the time you were finished, because Tarzan dropped out but was then back. So we'll just pause for a hot second before we start this scene, because I knew if we're focusing on Flynn, we can do Flynn's, and it's okay if.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Flynn was sitting and asking, because Roz had mentioned disappearance of important people, and Flynn's initial reaction was like the investigatory interview questions, like where was the last time they were seen, what were they wearing, who were they with, what was their daily patterns.
Oh, yeah. And even though he is back, let's take a brief moment. I know Sam just got up, but vampires, assuming that the three of you were speaking just for a brief moment, two of you for certain having evidence now that individuals close to you have been taken, one very directly from the location you're in, and the other of you receiving a text from a close compatriot that one of yours has been taken as well. What does that conversation look like for a brief moment? And then we'll turn it back over to see what the werewolves do.
Roz, you said people had been taken. Do you know what they were wearing, who they were with, last place they were known to be, timeframes?
I've just been informed now that one of my bandmates, a retainer of mine, has just been taken recently. She'll think back into what she last saw Bigsy wearing, and it was his usual three-piece suit, albeit it was a nice deep burgundy, which we picked out for him 2 months ago because it was like accentuated his muscles and all that. She goes off on a little bit of a tangent on that specifically, then reels it back in. And then just recently, Cassandra's boy has been taken. And then before that, and probably of the highest priority, our dear Princess Dyer has also gone missing.
Now, the ramifications of what Roz has just spoken, she seems to have intimate knowledge that the Prince of Portland, Thera Rosemary's sire, is among the missing. And now, as the three of you contemplate those words, both the two of you and Roz, who just spoke them, a call into the night comes in the form of that wolf call, one of pain and despair to the werewolves. The question that I asked while Tabletop Misfits Ben himself stepped away for a moment, and now that you're back, are the two of you running into the night, or are you telling the vampires to come with you?
I think Ben started taking off immediately. Luca was the one that would probably linger behind a little bit. So that, yeah, I would say seeing Ben bolt out after the call, turning to the rest, seems one of us is not currently present and is in potential dire straits. So if you guys would seek to help, follow me. And that's when he shifts into his lupus form and charges out the door as well.
And are the three of you going to join in, or does it seem unwise to run after angered werewolves?
I think Flynn will stow his notebook and will grab his small firearm from the small of his back and will follow, but will follow at a distance.
I think that Cassandra, not only in her anger that Corey's gone, but also annoyed because more damage has been done to her bookstore, is going to just sit here and wait to see what's going to happen. She's going to stay in the bookstore and maybe start cleaning things up a little bit, just kind of to keep her mind off of what's going on.
An insurance claim is fine.
Rose, much like Flynn, is going to take a more cautious route. She will pursue with the knowledge of the fact that one of the Guru have even asked or welcomed their help at all, is worth noting.
And as we tear down the street, a quick note just to incite additional drama, since it's been a while since we all came together. Cassandra, as you clean up, no one has stayed behind with you, and although you are in a heavily wounded state, you're not bothered by this because in the act of cleaning for a brief moment, your dope sort of blazer and pantsuit look that you had previously torn to shreds as well. You wander over to that curio and you take a look at that hidden pocket because you probably had things back there of your own choosing. But that book, that curious book that arose, yes, it could be worth investigating later, once it's a good idea to do so. But as you contemplate on that, Sam, back out onto the streets of Portland, obviously, the two wolves, one in a greater, more dire wolf-like shape, as I described previously, the other in your standard, but still much larger than any dog you'd see on average wolf, go tearing down the street, leaving gouges in the asphalt and concrete as they go. It is an easy path for vampires not using any powers, not saying that you wouldn't be, to follow along in their wake. It is, however, a very quick journey, at least for the wolves, because it only is about 2 blocks away from a point where you're easily able to scent conflict. Luca, Ben, I'll focus on you for a brief moment before bringing Roz and Flynn back into the scene. But the two of you arrive, and there's human blood on the ground. There was certainly a conflict. That's not surprising with a Guru, but there is a cacophony, a word that I've used a lot of times tonight because I like it. A cacophony of additional scents and sights to be found here. And just to kind of give me a baseline of where you would be in your rage, I would like both of you to give me either wits and awareness or wits and investigation. And in your Hispo form, Ben, I could be wrong. You might be at a deficit, although I could be thinking of Krynos.
So it looks like for Hispo, the only thing that I would be the -2 for avoiding detection.
Not a concern at the moment, then.
So you said wits and awareness or wits and
investigation.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to make a strong argument for a different check, I'm all ears.
Being the surveilling type that Luca is, could I argue that this would be a qualifier for my speciality in investigation with surveillance and get an additional die for the roll?
The night is early, so yes, you may. I'm feeling generous.
I also need to add my rage, so let's see. I have to switch out 3 ability die for 3 rage die. There we go. Okay.
We're holding the rage from last time, right?
Yes, you're still holding on to those rage points.
Cool.
A quick note. There actually is no difficulty here for any means of success. The higher you roll, the more information you'll immediately see. But I will say a good baseline for non-standard information will be our traditional difficulty of 3.
Ooh.
And I do see a 3 from the Hispo.
That's a 3 and a brutal. Mind you, Luca would no, he would use his lupus form to use his extra senses. So yeah, 3 and a brutal.
Okay. All right. So sounds like 3 overall, which is totally cool. Since you, the brutal came with successes, there's nothing that I can weaponize you against you either now or later as a result. So vampires feel great knowing you won't come upon PvP happening in the alley between allied wolves. But with the baseline having been established, with the greater potential to continue investigating, especially when your kindred allies arrive, the first thing that you sent is obvious attempts to mask the presence of what was truly occurring in this alley space. Yes, there is blood of one of your fellow Guru, but there's also the unmistakable scent of humans. And then the curious scent. You met the baseline, both of you, to be able to see gangrel blood. That is very specifically the more bestial and animalistic of the vampire clans, the Gangrel. There seems to be some of that blood here as well. And Ben, something is like giving cause for you to scrunch your nose up a little bit. Beyond these three scents, human, obvious, Guru, obvious. Also, this vampire blood, not as obvious, but curious. There's also something that's just literally gnawing at you. You are like shaking your head. It's giving cause for you not to be able to focus a little bit, and you can't identify what it is in this moment. But the two of you are here. You are wolves, and I'm actually going to have both of you do me a quick favor and make willpower checks. You won't be rolling rage of any kind. You'll just take the pool of willpower you still have, whether you've spent some or otherwise, your current non-damaged willpower pool, and please give me a willpower check. 1.
3 with 1 critical.
With 1 critical. Ben, if you were to look over at Luca, you would see nose to the ground, that lupus form of ears, nose, and eyes, all taking in the same information you are and seeking out greater insights from what's remaining. You even notice as his paw picks up because he has stepped upon something sharp, nothing that causes damage and nothing that would give cause for him to be concerned, but you can see the sheen of silver on the ground. There was definitely some silver at play in this space. But the reason why I'm talking to you in this moment is that with a 1 on your willpower check, you are suddenly afraid. Not of anything in particular. You're in your primal beast form, where you feel most comfortable. You should not be afraid of anything in a moral city in this state, but nevertheless, you lose track of your breath. You are losing your control on the scene itself. You are gagging a little bit from not knowing how to breathe while taking in all this information and suddenly feeling terror. And as you back out into the street, I need you to give me athletics and dexterity for a car that's passing by to not accidentally clip into an exceptionally large wolf.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You said athletics and dexterity?
Yep.
1 second. Let me make sure that I can't. There might be something So I'm going to see if this makes sense. Since one of his natural gifts is sense danger, even though he's in that feared state, would he be able to notice that that's coming at him?
You certainly can, and don't forget, this would be considered a physical test, and in your current Hispo state, you do gain 2 additional dice on physical tests as well. The difficulty here is 5, but it sounds like you've earned a few extra dice. Luca,
oh God. Let me figure it
as
out.
Ben puts together that dice pool, you do scent that silver, and you're able to get a little bit of a splinter. It's cute watching an intelligent wolf-like creature, not that they're not already intelligent, pawing at the ground at an angle to get a little silver splinter out without having to shift forms to make it easier. But you hear sort of like a whelp and a yelp, and you assume that he has stepped onto this splinter as well. But then you notice he was nowhere near where you were standing, and he's leaping backwards at an alarming rate just as you see those headlights coming.
Just at 5.
That is more than sufficient. The car brakes ever so slightly, veers off to the right as you jump literally up. You do a full-blown bunny hop, to like a teen wolf, if you will, to get up and over the car, and it slows for probably about 10 feet and then just continues, having veered, left a lot of rubber on the ground, and then you hear some honking. Knowing full well how delirium works, as well as the veil, you're under the assumption at the moment that this person just thinks an eccentric individual with one of those big dogs that doesn't fit into a lot of small houses, let alone apartments around the city of Portland, has been walked at night, and that somebody was attempting to cross the street in that moment. And although they were very scared for a moment, they might have hit that really big dog. Now that that has not happened, they're just mad, and they continue honking until they turn the next corner going right. I would like you to make a rage check for me, please. And that'll just be a single die for everybody's edification. It's right around that time, by the way, Flynn, Roz, You turn the corner. I know Flynn has a firearm at their side. Roz, potentially still tucked into your pants or wherever else you might have done so. You were given a sidearm from Luca. You're just there. You see a lot of that happen all at once. But Ben, you gave me a rage rouse. Good.
Good.
Because it's been a few weeks. What does
Yeah.
that put you at?
3.
3. You're now at a point where you don't need any fucking help finding out what happened to Wilco. They better stay out of your way for this investigation right after I get that car. No, I'm kidding. You're not going to go chase the car right now.
No, we're not going to do that.
You're now in a position, however, where if something like that happens again, you better go after that car. What were you going to say, Tarzan?
Luca would, as they're approaching, shift to Hamid so he could communicate, but seeing Ben dodge a car kind of just laughs at himself a little bit.
Tremendous. And Flynn, Roz, even if you're not using heightened senses at this moment, you do sort of that inhalation and you focus your eyes in such a manner that if there were any mortals in the area, you would be able to spot them. You similarly look for non-mortal danger, and nothing is apparent right at this moment. So weapons still potentially readied. You arrive now where a very angry Hispo and a now Hamid or humanoid shifted Luca are waiting. And Luca, just as a freebie, I'll go ahead and indicate that you probably pointed out an area for Ben to avoid.
Yes.
Because of the silver remains. But that too is a clue of what may or may not have happened here.
Yeah, I think Luca would be lingering over the spot still continuously, investigating it, trying to figure out with the exact spot of where Wilco was captured to see if there's any trail of her blood that he can follow.
Terrific.
Yeah, and I think with the fact that you stated that Ben was scared and not like enraged at that point, you would see him kind of sleek down a little bit to his more lupus form, and just very skittishly paw over to where Luca is and start sniffing.
Since it's clear, at least at the moment, that the danger is abated, but I know there's probably a bestial desire to try to figure out what happened before the scent goes cold. If each of you would like to do so, I will call for another either wits and awareness or wits and investigation check. Or if anybody wants to defer a bonus die to somebody else, you can split into pairs and have one individual from each pair roll with the additional die that confers your assistance in the matter.
Could I use premonition?
You sure as hell can.
That's helpful.
I haven't used like any of my skills, and I was like, what does this one do? Because this is the glimpses of the future.
And because I gave this to Cassandra in the previous session, you could even get some insights about what happened in the past, because this is our game, and I say that sounds cool. But before we have the chance to do so, what I'll go ahead and ask for is a rouse check for your hunger.
Which that's just one die?
A single die.
I have to remind myself every goddamn time.
That's okay. We're also relatively new. You got what?
We chillin'. It's a 9.
We chillin'. Nice. You feel a voice stirring in the back of your mind, one that hasn't made itself evident in quite some time. But as you focus on the vision that you're conjuring, you're able to stifle that voice. Just like how you did a little bit more literally all those years ago. And what I'm going to ask for, and I did this, I believe, for Sam last time as well. And no, I'm not speaking in the third person. If anybody needs a reminder, we have the wonderful classic Sam NYGM present. But just like we did for Cassandra, I will ask you to make an intelligence and occult check. And if you'd like to argue for a different attribute, have at it.
I mean, I can tell you what the dice pool is for premonition.
Let's do that instead.
Because it's resolve. It's resolve and aspects.
That sounds better. Let's do that.
Aspects. I'm interested.
Me too. Before you read off your results, I see you counting there. For everybody's edification at home, I'm going to do 3 tiers here. We'll get some basic information on 2, a little bit more detailed information with a 4, and we'll go buck wild with 6 or more. That said, Flynn.
That is 0 successes and 1 crit fail.
Thank you for playing. Now,
I have been rolling really well so far in this series, so I'm like, it's about time that I had a really bad roll.
I love my job. Now, everyone.
This will trigger the voices.
The other Malkavian in the crew, the troop, if you will, is not present, but all of you have either interacted with or heard stories of Malkavians before. And if you've worked with Flynn especially, you see them do something akin to consulting with the other investigators that live rent-free in his mind. And as he sort of like looks off into the corner, he's about to do his like noir shtick, where you would imagine sort of like a fedora to come on, a cigarette to be lit, and it's like, just another one of those nights. He sort of turns toward the alleyway and begins focusing down. And Flynn, as you're looking in the alleyway, you see coming out of the shadows, not illuminated in any way, shape, or form, but you actually see a visage of Alexander. And Alexander has hands in his pockets. He's wearing an outfit not too dissimilar to your own, by the way. He's in a long coat, pressed shirt that is slightly ruffled, enough so that you know he doesn't take himself too seriously, but he's still a professional. Decent slacks. He's got spats on, hair's in good form, and he approaches you, probably still 5 feet away, before stopping and staring at you in a calm manner. There's a little bit of blood dribbling from one corner, and he says, "You have no idea what the fuck you're doing here. You think you can just call upon me, and get some answers about what happened to your friends? Look around you." And Flynn, you are compelled to physically turn, and looking over your shoulder, you don't see Roz. You don't see Luca or Ben. You are now alone in an alley that appears to stretch miles into the distance behind you. And as you turn back, facing forward again, Alexander's not present. He's doing that super speed thing again, isn't he? And then you find you're not in an alleyway, but instead, for a brief moment, you're in an assembly hall. No, it's a meeting room. No, you're out in the field. The location keeps switching around, but you're surrounded by detectives, reporters, investigators of all kinds, and they're all shouting at you to run. They're all voices you've heard before for decades at this point, individuals who provide you additional information into the investigation you're currently following. There are individuals who give you the most insane ideas that occasionally work out, but most of the time are worth ignoring. And all these individuals are giving you new suggestions that boil down to a single point. It is all just to run. I need you to make a willpower check for me, please. While you build that dice pool, which shouldn't be all that large, for everybody else, Flynn turns around and says, "I'm not getting anything. I'm going to keep investigating, though. I'm going to head down the alleyway." And Flynn just starts walking down a dark alley. I would like everybody to make, let's either say resolve and insight or wits and insight. And that goes for Luca, for Roz, and for Ben. And I'll say thank you very much for Tamsin and Cassandra for waiting patiently while this scene proceeds.
Well, for the investigation that you called for earlier, rolled 3 successes and a critical for a total of 7. And then I'm going to roll the wits and resolve, you said?
It'll either be wits or resolve, either of those 2 attributes, and insight.
Insight.
And I saw 1 flash from Ben.
4 successes for
I see
willpower.
4 from Flynn. That's good. 3 from Roz.
Wait.
I told you guys he was crazy.
It's one and a brutal.
You know, it's not a brutal without success. So this doesn't have to go further off the rails yet. But
Yeah, you and me both, because I was the same way. It's like I got one on brutal.
Oh, that would have been so much fun. Come on, everybody. Okay. Very quickly, Luca. You're sort of pointing some things out, and either Ben or Roz are assisting you, but you're going back over the alley. It's clear. Yeah, it's pretty damn clear that razor wire was dragged to a point further down the alley in the direction that Flynn's walking here in just a moment. So it's a good thing they're walking that way. But then it's very evident that it's lifted up and it's thrown into the back of a vehicle. And you can see that there's definite tire treads that, God, it went through like piss or vomit or a combination of piss and vomit, something that's textured in such a fashion that you can kind of make out a tire track, but it's not super evident at the moment. But if this is where Wilco went, and yeah, that's her blood. She must have been tied up in some way, shape, or form, and it's not in a way that seems good at all, since you see those silver shavings and sharp edges broken off in the ground, and she was taken somewhere else. And as you're having those insights and you're looking about further, Flynn continues to walk down the alley, and you're like, okay, buddy, I guess you see something else. A 1 doesn't give you any greater insight into Flynn acting strangely, but Roz, I can't recall if you and Flynn have anything resembling a working relationship prior to the events of this story, or much like the other characters you met since you've been traveling for some time, joining in on this investigation is the first time that you've met most of them. But one thing is for certain, your undead mind grants you a certain degree of photographic memory. And under strenuous circumstances, you've interacted with Flynn quite a lot in the last half night. That motherfucker's not Flynn walking down the alleyway right now. And that goes just a little bit beyond crazy. We'll get to your 4 successes in just a second, Flynn. You, in your mind, don't necessarily know how to run, because what the first thing your 4 successes confers is the ability to go, yeah, that's a good ass idea. And as you push through the throngs of individuals and you're trying to figure out a means by which you can escape from this space, it's still, unfortunately, as if you were stuck sort of in between different, I believe, I don't remember what those are called, viewfinders, where you like pull down the lever and it switches from one image to another. You're going from one of those meeting spaces to the next and to the next. And the door in which you could potentially get out isn't the most clear in the world, but you have agency in this moment, and you get a horrified insight as to what the other voices in your mind experience, because the walls of this liminally changing meeting space that you seem to be stuck in go almost transparent to a degree at this time, and as if this is the means by which all of those voices gain those insights, because they can sort of get a sense of what's happening in the world around you. You now have like a 270 view of the space before the eyes of Flynn, your body, walking down the aisle. And you feel sort of a smug smile on the face, that fucking smile that you thought you left behind, as that individual quickens their pace. Oh, you don't have celerity like that, but it's beginning to move fast, further down the alley, away from your allies. Roz, you can sense something's off. That's not Flynn.
Would Ross be able to get in front of Flynn? Moving at the vampiric speed that they have.
Maybe. And the reason why I say maybe is I would like Flynn, using their normal dice pool, to give me the same check I did previously, resolve or wits and insight. And I'll state that not facing the troop you're leaving behind, but aware of them, your difficulty to see if you're being pursued at the moment by creatures who can largely be silent when they want to is a 5. And Roz, what I'm going to need from you is dexterity and athletics. And you can add 1 die. I know you don't have a celerity ability that increases your speed, but I'll give you the additional die for your cat-like reflexes in this moment. So let's see, athletics and dexterity plus that additional die.
This is an interesting pool. So it's 3 successes, 1 failure, and 1 critical fail.
The good news for you is that you have any successes at all.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would indeed be a very interesting die pool. 3 is
Only
not
2
sufficient, by the way, for you to notice a very fast vampire.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. I'm not in control right now. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Stop my
Wow.
ass.
Only 2 successes. That was a very small dice pool.
It was a very small dice pool. Would you want to potentially meet the 3 successes conferred previously, which I've decided is now the difficulty established by Flynn's rule? Would you like to rouse your blood? Do you want to engage in a blood surge to have the ability to potentially get that 1 additional success? So let's have you make your hunger rouse check, please. And we're going to make this a quick resolution for the sake of our other players, but it depends on if we can get that 1 additional success after your hunger check.
No, that was a 0 on the rouse check.
Phenomenal. There is no critical failure for rouse checks, but your hunger does increase by 1. And you have a deep sense of sympathy, or at least you will, if Flynn divulges what happened there a little bit later on, because you hear a similar smug but much more posh voice challenging your every ability to efficiently lend your efforts to an investigation such as this one. You're an entertainer, darling. You think you have anything to contribute? You are sorely wrong. But you can still blood surge if you want to give that 1 additional die rule that reflects your dexterity having increased. We can see if you can meet or beat.
Sure. So that'll be 1.
Let's see.
Rare.
Let's look for 1 additional success. Everybody cross your fingers. That definitely helps and isn't just superstitious mumbo jumbo.
Nah.
All right. The dice did this to you, and I'm so sorry for that.
That is okay.
What I will state is that the scene moves on. Flynn, your body is not in mortal peril, but unfortunately, for the remainder of the evening, Alexander's in charge. And your group is able to discover a few additional things in this alleyway, but not with your assistance. And we'll get to the ramifications of that die roll once we move on to the next night. But before we do so, everyone, additional information will be conferred in just a brief moment. Back over near Mount Tabor Park, further east and a little bit north of the Oracle's Quill in Portland, we had previously left behind Nemo, the ghoul McCreary, and Tamsin, also members of this cohort. Oh, Flynn, you had something?
McCreary took
You're right.
the dude to the hospital.
That is absolutely correct. My original decision was to leave him behind, but then I was like, ooh, hey, we're making the decision to not kill Jason. He needs to be there. So thank you. Yes, we had left behind the guru, Nemo, and Dr. Tamsin. And Sarah Adams, the resident of the home, who we had met in the first episode, an ally of sorts to Ben, a wolf who had lost the wolf, if you will, through preceding events that had to do with the theft of their blood, is a member of the Heart Wardens. So additional Heart Wardens have converged on the scene now that you've called out the need for aid by way of calling in additional glasswalkers, such as yourself. Nemo is out back right now, following the tracks that left the home and disappeared about 10 to 15 feet beyond the lentil into the backyard. So he's out there right now. And the scene that others left you behind in is one of many bodies. Some are strewn about on the floor, covered in blood. Others are just as dead, but they're in a weird mannequin-like upright rigor. And nowhere among the throng of 12 to 15 dead individuals, some of whom you do recognize as Portland's other guru, is Sarah. What's your investigation look like in the time in which all of these other events took place, Tamsin?
I recall from last time that when we went out the back, there was sort of a trail that was left and then disappeared just before the tree line that was like 10 to 15 feet out, which is, I think, what Nemo went to look at. And
That's
I don't
right.
want to leave Nemo by himself. So I'm going to go with Nemo, follow him. I'm going to shift into Galabro.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll need to roll a rage check for that.
Please.
I succeed. All is well. We have the thermos of tea. We're doing it. We're keeping it calm in this macabre situation. Heading out the back, I'm going to activate penumbral sensors using a willpower when I'm in that form. And I'm going to see if I can maybe investigate if they're... Tamsin's theory is that somebody is taking these people through the veil or into the Umbra through the gauntlet, and that's why it suddenly is disappearing and we can't follow it anywhere else. So she wants to see if that theory is correct, or whether there was any Umbral involvement, someone kidnapping people and stashing them somewhere that we can't materially locate right now.
No dice rolling necessary. Just out of curiosity, when you shift into Glabro form, your physical form does grow ever so slightly. Do your glasses stay on for this, or do you take them off so they don't break?
She takes them off, and she switches to a pair that have those flexi frames, and then she puts them back on again. So they look the same. They just have the flexible frames on the side.
So as you get a little bit broader in the shoulders, your jaw becomes a little bit more pronounced. Your fangs definitely grow and are hidden just by the edge of your lips. If you need to bare them, they absolutely are present. You contrast aggressively against that physical prowess by slapping on a different set of glasses, and not unlike when you're in your Hamid form, tapping the frames, you open up your penumbral sight, and directly in front of you is the still healing rift into the gauntlet, matching your hypothesis perfectly that whoever came through here previously absolutely stole Sarah away, in addition to who knows who else, and went into the Umbra.
And the bodies left behind, were they Guru or were they mortals as well?
You saw what appeared to be numerous, all Hamid form dead Guru, and they were members of a cadre who would usually roll with Sarah, some Heartward and some not. But there were mortal individuals whose forms are all twisted in such a fashion that they are just as obviously Fomori. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, knowing that, we're obviously not going to go into the Umbra by ourselves because that's not the move. We're going to wait for some of the others to get here to perform the rite of Shadow Passage. But we're going to go back into the house, and Tamsin's going to look around some of... She understands sort of what is happening with the Guru. They probably had a fight, but probably weren't able to shift. She's going to look at the mortal bodies that were possessed by Fomori and see if they have any of the characteristics of either the blood we saw at our first meeting, which was like the higher sort of possessed kindred that we saw, where the sort of goo was venoming along the floor, and just see what she can maybe see that is different in other Fomori that she's come across or read about before in her occult studies as well.
That then will be intelligence and occult, my friend.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, assuming this is not a critical failure, you will all find that this scene will move a little bit faster than what was found in the alley, a scene that would also have moved a little bit faster, but it just got so interesting.
Only 3 successes with that one.
3 successes meets our baseline for giving you any information at all. It is exceedingly clear that this is a different set of circumstances. And believe it or not, this is on the low end of success. You are able to determine that this is classic spiritual possession that turns mortals into Fomori. This is the influence of the Wyrm, and nothing so pronounced as what was much more potent and able to turn Garu and kindred. And part of the investigation that you do to see if there's any evidence of that nonsense whatsoever is, unfortunately, a little bit deeper of a dive into the corpses of the Garu that are present, who are still mysteriously all dead in their Hamid forms. There's no sign that Garu have been through here to clean up the bodies that would be harder to explain to the authorities. But it's very evident that none of them have been afflicted in a similar manner to the one kindred who was brought to that first fateful meeting 2 nights ago in the Portland Underground. Any other quick points of investigation before we move forward to the next night?
Yeah, I'm really going to quickly look at their bodies as well, and maybe if it's necessary, just cut into one a little bit with my specialty in medicine and trauma care, if necessary.
And what are we looking for?
a physical reason as to why they couldn't shift. Because if someone attacked this place, there would be at least a couple in Hispo, if not a Krynos, around somewhere, rampaging through the woods that we would have heard by now.
Now, I'll give it to you that this would be trauma care, because despite the obvious deadness of all those present, you understand that you're on a fixed timeline. With this many bodies, eventually the police or some other form of authorities will want to come see the space, even if it's a matter of days from now, but you want to do this while the information is most fresh. So let's see intelligence, let's see medicine, and after we resolve this and I give you some information, we will transition.
3 successes again. So I'm just gonna take out a little scalpel from a little rolled up medical set from my bag that is used for injuries, and I'm just gonna cut into one of my dead brother's arms a little bit into a vein and just sort of go straight through the skin, straight through the viscera, straight through the muscle, because she knows where to cut, to the bone, and just sort of prise apart and see if there's anything funky looking about these muscles in here.
Mm-hmm. And as you do so, you don't find that any form of rigor has set in. It's clear that the individuals here have only been dead. Well, actually, I don't know enough about rigor mortis, but it's clear enough that these individuals died much earlier in the same day. And for all I know, if we have a healthcare worker present who can clear that up, or if somebody in the chat wants to tell me how I'm wrong, just enough tension is present in the muscles to indicate that these individuals have been dead no longer than probably 8 to 10 hours. But that does tell you that they died early in the same day, and that there doesn't appear to be anything strange with only 3 successes that would indicate why they stayed in their singular form. It's right around this time because all of these investigative actions would take about the same time for you to be able to check your phone every now and then to see, oh, it looks like Ben and Wilco were on their way back from Astoria. We'll have to check in with them and get some information at some point. And a certain amount of time later, you would get SOSs in such a fashion that with the information you've compiled so far, you are obviously needed down by the Oracle's Quill to assist with the shenanigans happening in that vicinity, and others from both your tribe and from this pack that is being made up simply by way of Sarah's absence and people coming together to look into it. They have the rest of this scene covered. And with that in mind, we end October 25th, knowing full well that there are many questions unanswered, and individuals throughout the rest of the day heal, convalesce, eat, or because they're currently undead, they literally sleep off the challenges of the previous day. And as we all come together again on the following night, October 26th, 2025, we're going to take a quick break, and then our vampires and werewolves will come together again. Some individuals will be healing off damage dealt to them in the previous night's encounters. Hey, everybody, welcome back. As we start on the In Fiction night of October 26th, 2025, we have a few individuals coming away from their chosen torpor and others waking up wherever it is that they call home, possibly with food and drink wrappers around them to try to accelerate their healing from the previous day's events, and eventually converging once again at the home of Dr. Tamsin Newman. But, Roz, you are currently in a temporary home in the city of Portland. Where would you envision yourself? Are you in a hotel room? Perhaps did you borrow the residence of another Toreador, or what is it that you envision for yourself each night?
I imagine we would have been recommended a hotel to stay at by Prince Rosemary as a fellow clansman. Temporary residence, but still a good suite with all of her hood within easy reach, so to speak. In the past nights, she has taken 1 point of superficial and 2 aggravated damage in those events.
And as you wake, in the shared suite that you have with your remaining bandmates, it was a stressful evening when you returned, simply by way of the other three being a little bit lost at Big Z's departure. You weren't able to confer too much on that. And unfortunately, before long, you'll have to leave again to meet up with the others. But when you awoke, you undoubtedly fed your way back down to a reasonable number of hunger dots. But just by way of having come from your chosen torpor, we need to have you with a single dot of hunger. I would like you to rouse your hunger upon waking, and then we will see what you can heal of that aggravated damage. And we'll do the same for the other vampires. Flynn, you will wake up not in your comfortable home by the cemetery, but elsewhere. I would like you to make your initial hunger rouse check. And then Cassandra, if you could begin with your initial hunger rouse check, we'll get to your damage momentarily. Roz, how did that check go?
That was a success on the rouse check.
Excellent. All right. So as you awaken, that posh voice stays hidden in the background. And unfortunately, those injuries from the previous night don't heal by themselves on a body that's no longer living. I would like you to make one additional rouse check for each superficial damage you would like to clear. And then you may attempt to clear one of your aggravated damage this morning or this evening. But that will take you 3 hunger rouse checks should you seek to do so at this time.
That was a success on the superficial damage.
Okay.
And let's go 1 success, 2 success, 3. That did not look like it rolled. Oh, 2 successes. 1, 2, 3 success.
Okay. So we've done away with the superficial, and it sounds like we have fully done away with an aggravated damage then. Unfortunately, you are still partially damaged going into this new evening, but you're able to maintain that visage, the head woman of delirium yet again. And in doing so, some of the wounds along your shoulders and arms knit together from your initial scrape off the side of the motorcycle. Any genuine cuts, stabs, or shots are also beginning to close. They're not fully gone, and under close inspection, you will still appear to be a corpse in the making. But most people looking upon you only see a band's front woman. You will eventually have to leave behind your scared bandmates, your companions and ghouls, but do you have any passing remarks for them on your way out of the suite in downtown Portland?
It is because of the damage that she is wearing a t-shirt tonight. She will actually go to each one of her bandmates and almost console them in what could almost be described as a matronly manner, which directly contradicts the usual presence she normally portrays. She has them close, sort of pets their hair, and almost hushes them as one would, more like a subtle child than fully grown individuals. And she says, "We've gone through worse things before, and this will come to pass as well. Watch out for each other. I'll deal with the rest."
Mhm. And by no means are these fearful persons. They're not whelps. They have confidence and strength in their own right, but they have genuinely been given a lot of joie de vivre, riz of their own, and a surge of confidence by imbibing in your blood on a monthly basis. And despite their fear at the moment at the loss of one of your mutual compatriots, your words do inspire in them, reasonable safety for what words are able to do. And this wouldn't be a holding of Thera Rosemary granted to you if it didn't have guards in the form of ghouls downstairs. And with encouraging words for them to stay behind so that another one of their number is not taken, much like Big Z, you depart for Tamsin's. Cassandra, would you have stayed at the Oracle Squill the previous night, knowing that it's a somewhat compromised location at the moment? Jason in the hospital, Corey missing, the doors torn asunder.
I think that with the windows blown out, the doors falling apart, and everything the way it is, Cassandra cleaned up as best as she could, locked everything up, and went to a secondary location, possibly a hotel that she, you know, goes to often when she decides that she's going to stay somewhere else, um, where the staff and everyone know her. They don't know of her, but they know her because she frequents there or not. So I think she would stay there instead.
Excellent. That being the case, you are able to spend the necessary resources to gain the room and the anonymity that a space in which you're familiar and known would grant you. And how was your first rouse check as you come to your unlife once again on the succeeding evening?
So the first rouse check was a 6.
That's good enough. You similarly would have fed before sleeping the previous evening to get down to your single dot again, unless you had fed somebody to their individual death. But for the purposes of moving forward, you wake again with that singular dot. And the healing that you accomplished in the previous session, we'll say, was as a result of the ghoul's blood you fed upon, helping you to heal both superficial and aggravated damage to the point where you are now. But not unlike what Roz just had to undergo, for any additional superficial damage you would like to clear from your slate, you may make additional rouse hunger checks. And if you'd like to make a single aggravated damage you have remaining go away, that will take 3 rouse checks. Granted, assuming you don't go into a frenzy, they'll all succeed, but it could come at the cost of a frenzy. So your choice how much healing you want to seek to accomplish here.
So currently I have 2 activated and 3 superficial. So we're going to try and at least heal the 3 superficial. So that's 3 dice, right? That's 2 successes and 1 failure. So 5, a 6, and a 1.
Unfortunately, the 5 is also
the 5. So
considered a
2.
failure.
Yeah.
I have good news for you, however. All 3 points of superficial damage, gone.
Hey.
The bad news is you've fully accelerated to a point where your sire is shouting in your ear that you must claim control, otherwise you will never be listened to. You're not worth the vitae created by his embrace that runs through your veins. And you hear in your mind, you would be better off meeting the sun than continuing to claim you are children of mine.
I think Cassandra, if some unlucky person knocks on her door, may just accidentally feed on them, just off of not only her anger and her frustration of not having Corey near her, but also not having Jason near. So I think that might be a something that might happen.
Okay. Now, before we move you to Tamsin's home, taking care of some of those other things that, would be frustrating you at the moment, do you want to try to heal any of that aggravated damage?
Yeah, let's try to heal it.
Ooh, 3 more, and we're already at 3. Excellent. Now, I'm going to be nice. If things aren't going well after your first roll, you can always opt out of attempting to heal this damage. But
Let's attempt to heal the damage. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, spring break.
Let's see what happens. You never know. Let's see what happens. It could be a 6,
Or higher.
or I mean, I'm only rolling d6s, so
3 times in a row. It'll be great.
we'll see what happens. I'll roll 3 d6s. How about that?
Now, while you do that, to keep the tension going for just a brief moment, individuals who are paying attention to the previous session going into this one may remember that Luca was similarly damaged in the encounter off of the freeway exit on his motorcycle. He, having shifted into a non-Hamid and non-Lupus wolf form, was able to heal said damage. Do you have any remaining as you wake back up to engage in nighttime activities, Luca?
No, by the time he got back to the Oracle's Quill, he had fully healed.
Excellent. And upon waking the next day, knowing you probably would have slept in well past noon, unless, of course, you consider yourself to be a functioning person, Luca, on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep habitually, especially when on the job.
I mean, yeah, given his line of work, he can operate with minimal sleep. However, he was preoccupied working on his bike. He would have broken into a mechanic shop overnight to work on his repairing the strut, the support strut, to keep the sidecar mounted. And I would make it a point that he would stay near Roz's hotel and be that ride for her when she got up for the day.
And a bit of a devil's deal for you, as you clarify that would take priority. Would you want to fix your bike, or would you want to make it a point before the evening's activities begin to follow up with Mercedes about potentially higher grade and quality of munitions? Because you would only have time for one or the other.
Boomsticks are more important for Luca. So with that new point of context added in, that would put me at 3 contact dots. I would hit up Mercedes for some new munitions.
For anybody who similarly is keeping track, Luca has gained some XP between sessions and went from 1 dot to, holy shit, 3 dots. I didn't know that. I mean, three dots in context totally recontextualizes some situation. You don't need to do this stuff yourself, my guy. You could have your bike back in working order. And I thought we had 1 dot in contacts. Okay, cool.
Nope. Been investing.
Now, Mercedes understands sort of the severity of the job that you find yourself in, and it's still your contact because, experience is one thing. 24 hours in this universe is another thing entirely. So it's not like you got a different contact, but Mercedes has contacts.
Yeah, she's got a network. Knowing
that favors can be traded just as much as money, she's able to acquire a short rifle for you from they're kind of bougie, if we're being forthright. It's a company called Daniel Defense. And this AR-15 platform rifle has a deliberately shortened stock and barrel platform so that it can be utilized for its ranged weapon purposes while simultaneously being decent if you do find yourself indoors or down in tunnels, not unlike the one time you went down with a full Remington something or another into the literal Portland Underground. Not an easy weapon in front of you. And with your 3 dots, you also have variable optics in the form of just a reflex scope on the side, but you actually have, on a short weapon like this one, not a phenomenal scope, but you have between 3 and 8 times magnification for the optics on the top.
Nice.
3 dots for a rifle specialist. Good job, my friend. What I'll ask of you, because I want to take this and honor your expenditure that much further, can you please roll on Mercedes' behalf, just like you did last time, a preparedness check? And I will let you determine the skill, but that will be intelligence plus what you feel would be the relevant skill using your own skill tree, whether it's larceny, streetwise, or what have you. Could be firearms.
Let's go with firearms. Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and build that pool for me really quick. It'll be your intelligence plus firearms, no specialties. And while you build that pool, we'll come back to you in just a brief moment. I'm bouncing around here a little bit. Cassandra, You had attempted to heal a point of aggravated damage. Again, if you rolled all 3 dice, it happens. You're successful. But
Okay,
we're in
just
those
for
failures.
clarification, am I rolling D6s or D10s?
Always D10s.
D10s. That makes more
If
sense.
you were ever rolling D6s, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
This is a D10 only system.
I don't know why I thought. You know what? I was playing Kids on Bikes. That's what it was.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I was doing that yesterday. All right, here we go.
That was worth it.
Yeah, didn't die.
You're helping us to tell an interesting story, and that's what matters.
Okay, so we got even better. We got a 10, a 10, and a 9.
Okay, cool. You're at 4 hunger. No, wait. No, you're not at 4 hunger. You remain at 3 hunger.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you've eliminated all of your superficial damage and one of your remaining points of aggravated damage. So you and Roz, having had very different evenings with reference to how scraped up you got, are now at a matching degree of health. And separately, you're converging on Tamsin's home. Luca, you made a roll for me.
I did. That's maximum roll here. Four successes with a critical, so 8 successes.
Just the 1 critical, or you had the 2 critical dice?
I have 2 critical dice, and I have 3 critical dice in total, but 3 successes plus 4 for the critical.
You then 100% have, it's not the highest quality, but Daniel Defense actually does make suppressors. So you have not only a rifle suppressor, but that preparedness check was also secretly accounting for genuine C4. You have 2 uses of actual military grade C4 and the appropriate detonator equipment for them. This is very different from your first roll with Mercedes the preceding night. You too, with your bike in mostly working order, so much so that you'd feel safe and confident putting a vampire friend in the sidecar again, make your way over to Dr. Tamsin's. The last of our vampires, because I assume Ben spent the night at Dr. Tamsin's. The last of our vampires, Flynn. You live in Southeast Portland, over by a cemetery. You live in a home with a roommate. You awaken, however, in Forest Park, which is on the northwest side of Portland. And you're probably 1.5 feet deep in the dirt with a shoe sticking out. So had your shoe not been on when you passed out the preceding evening, you would have at least lost the foot, if not the rest of yourself, as the sun came up. Because at some point in a 12-hour light cycle, it would have caught you, because Forest Park is, as it would sound, a forested region. But the tree boughs don't provide full coverage. So the first thing you do is the requisite hunger rouse check, if you hadn't done so already.
I got a 2.
You had a 2. Almost as if it would be explained by whatever the hell Alexander got up to the previous evening. You awaken and immediately hear a vacuum of the voices you're always used to when you're conscious, and you just hear him saying, "Hey, what's up, Flynn? Welcome to my channel." And I don't believe you have any damage to heal. But as you crawl out of the dirt, you find that you now are in a similarly gaudy set of attire to what you would have recognized of him in his own life. The brands have changed over the last couple of decades. What would you consider to be Flynn's worst nightmare for like a streamer to be wearing that you would presently be wearing at the moment?
Jesus fucking Christ. That's a really good question. Anything like extra prestigious, anything that makes it look like he's trying too hard, because Flynn is very similar to me. I don't give a shit what I'm wearing on stream. I'm gonna be comfortable. But this would be uncomfortable. It'd be gaudy. It'd be over the top. It'd be way too try hard.
So an Abercrombie equivalent of the modern age is a company by the name of Super Dry. And sure enough, between the Oracle's Quill region and the Forest Park area you are in presently is at least one mall. And you have 3 Apple Watches on one arm, one on the other. You are head to toe wearing super dry at the moment, confusingly with sweatpants over jeans that are far too tight and a hoodie that has been manually cropped to look distressed over a t-shirt, all from this clothing company, Superdry. And they don't fit quite right, but they're those Nike Blazer mid shoes that a lot of people like to wear at the gym, but they're also just a fashion shoe at the moment. And they have sort of a crisscross pattern of sort of a brown and orange that you have to understand is probably something that somebody would consider valuable due to its strangeness, as opposed to the usual white with the wet black swoosh or white with the red swoosh that you see more frequently. And all of the gaudiness is undercut by the notion that at some point survival kicked in and recognition occurred that where you were led to you now having to bury yourself in the dirt in the past evening. And with those words going through your mind, hey, what's up, Flynn? Welcome to my channel. You get just brief glimpses of the previous night, breaking into these stores, standing on a bar top, shouting at everybody that they should look at you, and doing impromptu karaoke at not a nightclub, but at like a martini bar attached to a fancy restaurant, and other similarly try hard attention grabbing scenarios, shouting, I'm Flynn and I'm nothing at the top of his lungs. Your lungs, actually. You get the notion that it might actually be pretty smart to go to Dr. Tamsin's, almost as if the storyteller thought it would be convenient for you to wake up within a couple of miles of their home.
So can I add to that a little bit? Because knowing that Flynn kind of walked away and there's nobody else around, in lupus form, I have a feeling that Ben would not have went straight to Tamsin's. He would have tracked Flynn the entire night. So what you're seeing probably is the ending result of falling in a cemetery hole and Ben taking the time to bury you as an animal would to make sure that that doesn't happen. But I missed the foot.
My favorite part of this scenario, by the way, is that if Flynn had made it and you were following Flynn all the way to the park, and quite literally Tamsin lives on the exterior perimeter of Forest Park, that you decided to bury him instead of just dragging him back to the house. That is my favorite part of this scenario.
Well, if they weren't responding or like anything, so it would have been more of like, I'm just making sure that you don't end up somewhere. And the only reason I'm even doing it is because they've already asked to help with this thing, and I'm already confused at what we're doing, like out here. So I'm going to make sure they're at least somewhat protected.
Well, as long as player of Flynn, do you like how that all sounds?
I think it's hilarious.
Phenomenal. Ben, if you don't mind me auteur directing, you knew precisely where they were buried. Are you waiting around sundown? Yeah. Okay, cool. It sounds then like we have easy means to bring everybody to Dr. Tamsin's, now including a totally dirt-covered and atypically dressed Flynn the reporter.
As soon as Flynn woke up, Flynn is like bare minimum is taking off as much shit as he can without becoming too scandalous.
It sounds like you're wearing a t-shirt you would hate, some jeans that don't fit.
No, he'd wear the sweatpants. He would take off those fucking jeans.
Phenomenal. And some gaudy sneakers. And the watches could be sellable or not. It's your call, and we don't track money here. So.
And the entire time, Ben, in whatever form he is just hearing not just Flynn talking to himself very clearly, outraged and very upset. But every once in a while, you feel like you hear his voice, but it's not his. And like he's talking to people, but there's no one else there, and there's more flinchy movements. He seems very upset.
You'll just get the natural dog. You're like head caught to the side, ear dropped a little bit, confused.
Back at the house, what kind of tea are we having, Tamsin?
Well, would Ben have stayed the night at Tamsin's? Or just been out? So Tamsin gets home assuming the night before that at least someone is going to be there, and comes home to an empty house and is like, oh God, the boys weren't getting along. Oh God, what happened to everyone else? Because she hasn't had an update from anyone since then, apart from knowing the Oracle's quill was damaged. And she has to go to work in the morning. I'm assuming this is a weekday. What day of the week is this?
Oh, he's
Actually, no. You were doing all of that on a Saturday night, and it is now Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
God.
the 26th
Okay.
is a Sunday.
Thank God. Okay, so she goes to bed, but because she obviously knows that Sarah's place was ransacked, she's gonna sleep. She's gonna like take like a load of blankets and cushions down into the basement and sleep there with her girls. And her girls are her spiders that are in the basement. And gonna sleep down there because it's a secure room, and then wake up and go, I don't have to go anywhere, and probably sleep in until like 11. And just like potter around the house for the day and try and message people who are awake. I think she doesn't have Luca's number. The other kindred are asleep, and Ben's not going to respond. So she's just kind of sat alone in her house for the day. Actually, she will check where Ben is because she can find Ben whenever she needs to with his
He ate that checker that
earpiece.
one time, yeah.
Yep,
Or the
I
earpiece.
No,
tried it
he
one
did.
time.
I didn't microchip the alpha. I didn't microchip him. He's got
sure?
an earpiece that I would have given him because I know he doesn't have a phone. Well, he does now, but he didn't have a phone, and it expands and contracts like spider legs in his ear whenever he transforms, and she can track that via a piece of software she has on her laptop that tracks Umbral activities. She can find him wherever he is.
And if anybody's wondering how all that is possible, Glasswalker. Yes.
They got some weird stuff over there.
I will add all these gadgets that she has. I asked the storyteller for, and he said yes. So it's his own fault if they come back to bite him at this point.
It sounds like they're just biting the inside of his ear at the moment, and I'm fine with that.
Apparently don't like that idea in any way, shape, or form.
And something else that Tamsin has been sitting for the entire day, and I'm going to make this be something that she had to sit through for the entire day, because you need to know where everybody else is before setting out again, because you have built a character that you have admitted isn't meant for punching and kicking and fighting. You do wake up to a series of text messages from Dr. Jackson Lopez, and Dr. Jackson went down to the town of Salem, and Dr. Jackson was investigating Clear Lake. And Dr. Jackson sent a series of concerning messages asking where you all were, and then ending abruptly. And then everybody arrives. You're all in the same place again. Before I turn it over for the six of you to start talking about how you might want to proceed, a couple of quick reminders. Assuming that Cassandra was a little bit open about the vision that she had, there was evidence of a genuine mage in her bookstore the preceding day. There was also evidence of a bane to Guru kind, a stolen moon, a humanoid individual or non-naturalized changing breed who has stolen the powers of a Guru by skinning them and ritualizing the power of shape-changing onto themselves by donning the skin. There's clear evidence that hunters have kidnapped one of your own. And a little bit of a freebie, potentially something that our viewers will be able to see at some point, but some individuals as part of this cadre went out to the city of Astoria, similarly investigating the Giovanni, part of the Hecate clan of vampires, sort of to get the angle on vampires who are more spiritually attuned with the wraiths and or spirits themselves, that have been potentially involved in making it easier for vampires and Guru to be possessed, as evidenced in the first episode, and they didn't turn up any promising leads that point to the Giovanni being culprits in this matter. You have a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of just crazy shit going on, in addition to people you care about going missing. With all that fun information, the floor is yours.
I think the first thing, I think it would probably be Flynn and Ben. But I think as soon as, like, there's the knock at the door and Flynn opens the door himself and walks in the front door as you're getting up to come. And as soon as he sees you, he looks upset. He looks tired. And he just says, "Do you have a change of clothes?"
I just look at the abomination of both fashion and mood that stands before me, and I just like silently go and get him like a towel from like a nice cupboard and go, yeah, honey, go and use the shower.
Thank you.
You can do, you know where it is. You can do what
And
you want.
he just like, as you're offering that extra kindness, he kind of just sinks into himself and hits a bit of like a sad nature, finding himself in all of this, and just kind of slowly trudges over to go take a quick shower.
The only clothes I have might be a bit big because they're for Ben.
That's fine.
And then Ben, does Ben come through the front door or through his door?
I'll come through the front door right behind
Okay.
Flynn, and then just find my spot and plop down.
No, pause. Wipe the pause. Remember, you write the pause. You gotta. I'm sorry. Please.
Didn't even think about it. Just and they're muddy too. They're bad.
And what?
Like, comes in
What?
dirty, like fully covered in dirt, and just walks over and just to his bed and just flops down, just tired.
This would probably be this time that both Roz and Muka would show up on his loud ass motorcycle.
Driver.
Oh, good. Everyone's arriving at once. Oh, good. I was totally prepared. Let's. She goes and starts like. Oh, actually, the snacks they bought the night before, I bring the charcuterie board and like all the nice snacks out again because we didn't eat them. So I put all them out and then start brewing the tea, which is a nice English breakfast. Tea. And I just leave the door open. I'm like, if someone attacks us, there are other people here. just let them come in at the moment.
And since you brought it up, this is around the time that you do receive a text message from Jason, Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
Jason confirms that he was taken not to a conventional hospital, but, a hospital for people in the scene, and was given a few units of blood. And he basically just texts to tell you, I'm at the place. I'm up and moving. Did you find Corey? I haven't heard from him.
Cassandra's going to look at her phone. And she's going to take a moment, and she doesn't answer him right away. She texts back, go to the quill, clean it up, open the store for the day. Corey's not, she hasn't found, and the last sentence will be like, she hasn't found Corey.
You just get back 10-4. By the way, if you see McCreary, tell him thanks. Haven't seen him since I was dropped off.
She doesn't answer. She just sends a question mark to him. Because I'm assuming that she's getting these texts before she hits Tamsin's door. So she looks at it and she quirks an eyebrow, sends a question mark, and hopefully answers back something.
Right around, and you get a couple of like the ... stop ... and it's making like the sound that's usually on like Slack or Teams or something instead of a phone, but it makes it funnier to me. And a few more texts are exchanged that sort of connote, yeah, it seemed like McCreary was going to stick around, but he must have been called away. I just, at one point he was there, and then I just didn't see him. Have you checked in with Basilius? Maybe he needed him again. And it's right around that line of questioning that you arrive at the tea house.
And Cassandra is going to, she's going to text back to him, just do as I ask, and she's not going to ask her any more questions. She's not going to ask her anything further. And she's going to knock on Tamsin's door. And what they see is not the normal Cassandra. It's not, because she hasn't had her touchstone in about 24 hours, I would say. Is that correct? The little bit of humanity that Cassandra may have had is slowly leaking away. And this is a much not nicer Cassandra. Which, I don't know if that's possible, but a much meaner Cassandra. Just
I'm
knocking
frankly
against
just
the door.
picturing Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada in vampire form.
Yeah, add her with like, Papa Pope
Lost
from
on me.
Scandal.
Never saw it.
Yeah. I'll send you a link. You'll see.
Sounds great.
As you knock, you hear, yeah, it's open. Just come on in. It's fine.
She doesn't open the door. She doesn't open doors. Doors are open for her.
And to Tamsin's credit, it was left open, but
like open, like the door's open, or just it's open, unlocked type of open.
The door is fully open because
Okay,
I hear Luca and Roz pull up because I know that's Luca's bike now, and I'm just like, yeah, you can come in. It's fine.
She's gonna walk in and she's gonna take the seat that she took the last time she was here. And she's not gonna say anything. You could tell that she's definitely brooding, like she's definitely not well.
Oh, you look like a radiant ball of sunshine.
Luca, thank you for the other night, for destroying my property.
I assure you, the damage could have been a lot worse.
Wait, what happened? And Tamsin comes back out holding a teacher like, did you guys break something?
I'm
not paying for it again. I'm not paying for it again.
He broke everything. All the windows are broken. And then he went into my sanctuary. He went into my haven to find the abomination that took my touchstone.
What?
To be fair, you did levy a heavy accusation against the Garu, and I clarified that accusation.
I feel like I missed something. I feel like I was somewhere else, and then you guys left, and then what happened?
Yes, Tamsin, it has been brought to our attention that a stolen moon has accosted this one's sanctuary, as he points to Cassandra. And for the Garu, stolen moon is a bad thing. It's a person that stole my skin. So, kind of just keeps his eyes lingering on Cassandra with a little more of a pointed stare. She's not on his nice list right now.
Yeah, no, same. Say Cassandra's gonna look over at him and just say, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. None of this is over until I get what I want back, what belongs to me. And although this is not, whatever that was, part of your tribe, I guess, it's still your responsibility.
To be fair, this is everyone's responsibility. I was sent here to clean it up, but turns out this situation is a lot dire in comparison to what I was led on to believe. This is going to require all of us to pull our resources together to resolve this issue.
Whoa, so stolen moon. Ooh, okay, bad. Touchstone is someone important to you? Someone kidnapped. I'm echoing somewhere. Who is it? Touchstone kidnapped someone important to you. Stolen moon. I discovered someone kidnapped one of the alphas, and they're now in the Umbra somewhere. Like they stole them away and they tore open. So magic, bad magic. Oh, my friend hasn't replied to text. Oh no. Any other people gone missing we should be aware of? Because now I'm slightly concerned.
We have every reason to be concerned. There's more than a few have gone. So to break it down for you, Tamsin, and everyone's sakes, we know of 3 who've gone missing. Cassandra's touchstone, my retainer, and dear Archibald Wallingsworth, I believe it is, who is the sire of our lovely Prince Rosemary. So,
not to mention Wilco.
Wilco also gone. Beyond that, this seems to have gone beyond Kindred and Garu. We've encountered hunters with Fae among them. There seems to have been a mage present when the touchstone was abducted. So, my question is what's bringing all of these creatures together, because this seems far more organized than a simple scrap.
And I think once Cassandra hears what Roz says, she's going to say, Jason is fine, but your friend, Macarius, whatever his name is, that took him to the hospital, thank you, seems to have gone missing as well.
Oh, fuck. Basilius is going to be so mad.
Oh, speaking of our dear prince, he hasn't been answering any messages as well.
Oh, no.
And assuming events played out as planned, again, potentially to be seen soon, Basilius did journey with Ben and Wilco out to Astoria to assist with the current war happening in the Pacific Northwest, and was left behind with Natty and some other individuals to continue that end of the investigation, none of whom have been heard from since departing from Wilco and Ben.
What was the last thing that we left them doing?
You had actually been having something resembling cohesive and non-confrontational conversations with the Pisonauts, which is a family of vampires of the Giovanni clan out by Astoria. This conversation had to do with, their expertise. Maybe they could help you out, understanding how spirits could be assuaged to sort of, worsen the situation at large, because by and large, Fomori are being created from Kindred and Guru from heightened spiritual activity. And I'm glad you asked that, Ben. As the representative of that meeting present right now, I would like you to make a retroactive charisma or manipulation plus persuasion or streetwise check for me, please.
I think this is when Flynn...
Streetwise or what?
Streetwise or persuasion.
I think this is when Flynn walks back in, shower taken, just towel over his head, and is a little more peeved because he's realizing in this moment all of the information that he's been jotting down was in that little notebook, which was in his previous pants, which he no longer has. And he's upset. So he's just like, well, there's the one that has the photographic memory. So he comes back into the living room, plops down on a free chair or sofa space, and it's like closing his eyes and trying to get in contact with that individual to get back all of the information he's been taking notes on.
I'm glad you figured it out before I got to ruin a plan you had later. Flynn, I would like you to make a willpower check, because you've been able to tune him out. But for the better part of the last hour, it's just been the ramblings and ravings of a no longer relevant sire.
He's a bitch.
Yeah. Ben, I didn't miss...
That was a crit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is actually pretty huge. In speaking with the Pisonobs, who are of the clan of vampires, it is much more necromantically oriented, with a critical success, information that will have been derived, assuming we get to play out that side story, and I'm sincerely hoping we do, you will have learned from them that spirits themselves are able to agitate the psyche of immortal and undead beings such as yourselves to the point where you become capable of possession. On an average night, away from the current circumstances, spirits of the Wyrm would not be able to possess anyone in the room, creating Fomori like they would mortals. But something communicated by the Pisonobs, something that's posited in the conversations you were having before you and Wilco specifically had to depart, communicated the notion that wraiths are able to agitate the psyches of supernatural creatures to the extent that you are now vulnerable. And that gives cause for all of you to wonder, now that light has fallen, the moon has risen, are you being accosted by wraiths right this moment? How would you know? Are you all vulnerable right now?
So the question, so I'm going to have that question then is, was that the same feeling I felt when I got hit with the fear?
I would like you to make an insight and wits check for me, please.
Okay.
And I'll give you an extra dot on top of the 5 that I believe you put together. No, 3. The 3 that you put together for
Just
that.
3.
So I'll give you an extra dot as a result of the knowledge you gained in Astoria. Luca, you receive a message, and you do this on purpose. What is a random, no, nothing, doesn't make any sense word that you would just first one that comes to mind right now?
Ghibli.
Did you say Gimli?
Ghibli.
I wish it was Gimli. But Ghibli, you get a text message from Ghibli, and it just it reads, Jay is on to something. Meet us at the golf course. And she identifies. I actually had this pinned, but I lost it. If possible, try to meet us by the. No, actually, shoot. I'm sorry, everybody. It's a golf course in North Portland, the Riverside Golf and Country Club. Like Jay, you get the message, and it states, "We found something," or Jay found something. If possible, meet us by the Riverside Golf and Country Club. And you know that Ghibli is your other compatriot, Thea. Mm-hmm. And you can do with that information what you wish later. But Ben, you rolled some dice for me.
Just the 2.
A 2. You are contemplating that knowledge, and the conversation that you're having presently, you are actually wondering if maybe you were under spiritual attack in that moment.
I think
You don't know for sure.
we'll save at this point because we have a lot of kindred involved. Ben will take the moment to walk into the guest room and change and walk out in his Hamid form, because he does not have the ability to talk to kindred out otherwise. So, and as he comes out, he'll find a stool or a chair and just it's probably a stool because it won't feel right otherwise. And he'll just sit on it, put his feet up on the rungs. And you can see he is not happy that he has to be in this form.
So, all around bad.
We appear to have an echo again.
It's Roz.
It's Dia. It's Dia.
It wasn't echoing before. Nothing's been changed.
Interesting.
We love you, and we're here for you.
We are.
Tech support.
Yeah, nothing has been changed.
Yeah,
Weird.
The crazy thing is like you can speak and it's fine. Anybody else speaks and they hear it.
I'll just turn the sound down further. Can someone say something?
Something.
I'll swallow.
Something. Nope, still.
Mm-mm.
Can we pause and I'll just refresh the screen?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just going to pop out real quick.
That was a
and
good
come
pop
back
off.
in.
That was a good point where you'd finish the explanation anyway, so it's a good time to have a pause.
Yep.
Do it.
We'll get to what my willpower roll was in a minute.
Oh boy.
Was it
I'm excited.
so good?
I have a question for Sam.
Sure.
Yes.
So with Cassandra not having her touchstone, will that affect her humanity?
Over time, for the purposes of our miniseries, we can move up that time clock, where you can make the choice for that to be affecting your humanity negatively, especially considering how much injury you've undergone over the last 24 hours.
Okay.
It's more so the case for younger vampires that it would take like weeks, months, if not longer, without like direct contact with a touchstone, that they would basically just like lose humanity. You wouldn't go feral and monstrous necessarily,
Right.
but for someone as old as your soul has been determined to be, that touchstone is much more important. and
Right.
I don't want to tell you how to play, but I'm here for the story you want to tell. And that missing touchstone, depending on where you are mentally, could mean a number of things. You could either dramatically need to get your touchstone back out of fear for what could happen, or other parts of you could determine that it's a good thing that roadblock is out of the way. And you don't need to tell us right now. You ponder on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm sitting here thinking about it. That's why I asked.
Yep.
We haven't. It hasn't sorted yet. It hasn't sorted yet. We'll see.
Oh yeah. You don't have to have
Echo.
that decision made right
Echo.
now either. It's great.
Echo.
It seems to be good.
Eku.
Yeah, no echo. No echo.
We
Oh.
chilling.
All I did was literally refresh. Nothing changed.
That's so funny.
That's
Yeah.
bizarre.
Life finds a way.
So bizarre.
It'd be cool if I was saying the thing I was saying before, and we keep going.
Yeah. Let's
we-
make an obvious cut, and then let's have you do that. So we'll go 3, 2, 1, silent.
So it seems like everyone knows is missing. At least we have one person maybe that's gone missing. But this seems way too organized and way too precise to be the action of just powerful spirits roaming and randomly possessing people. It seems like there's some logic to it. It seems like there's a leader, especially if there's someone with heightened magical powers who can access the Umbra, or as you guys are gesturing to the Kindred would refer to it, the Veil. There's got to be something going on. My friend, who doesn't seem to be answering my texts anymore, which is slightly concerning, was telling me about that they were doing some experiments down on a satellite campus of Portland University on werewolf blood, which, is always great when scientists are left unsupervised with things that they don't know about to experiment
Luca,
on.
Ben, I need immediate rage rouse checks at the notion that a vampire has been investigating werewolf blood.
That's a crit success.
Excellent. You can independently determine that this is upsetting, but it does not mechanically increase your rage, or you could choose to not give a shit. It's your call. Tamsin, sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. I see my brothers bristle a little bit, and I go, "Sorry, boys." But he was informing me of something going on, so that could be a place to start looking. I don't like the idea of mad science and magic combining into something that could maybe turn us into a frenzy, and then being possessed and not being able to see where spirits are a lot of the time unless you have extended senses like myself and maybe some others do is extremely concerning. So we need to move fast, and we need to move together, because it seems, and I look over at sort of Cassandra and Roz, noticing they're a little bit messed up, and I'm like, because it seems you guys might have had a run-in with some things yesterday and that went badly.
You said experiments. That reminds me, and this could be for better or for worse. When we were attacked, the ones who attacked us were wielding syringes, which isn't exactly a weapon you're wanting to carry if you're trying to do serious harm or kill something. And in saying that, I have a suspicion that there is a greater likelihood of whoever's missing still being alive, which, to our credit, gives us some measure of safety, but also it's easier to find a dead body than a missing person.
Do we know if there's been any information from Sarah since she was captured?
You have quite a few guru currently still on the premises of her home, but a lot of them have moved off to do other tasks. And I'll go ahead and say conveniently, because Nemo is there. Nemo has been providing regular updates as part of that investigation, indicating that no sign, no sound, no scent, still missing.
And so we still have no call, correct?
Nothing.
Okay.
I think we need to make a decision on this one, team. I don't think anyone else is going to ride in and save us that's higher up, especially if someone's sire's been taken and an alpha's been taken. It seems like they know what they're doing, and they're doing it well.
To consider who our enemies are. Who has been actively working against us regularly. So far, there's been hunters for sure. But
The hunters, did you say, Luca and Ben, that hunters had kidnapped Wilco, but there was also something else that seemed off?
Something just, it was like a foul odor in the air, but we couldn't tell what it was.
It
there's
would be
some
unusual.
corruption.
It would be unusual for hunters to be working with any sort of supernatural entity to
Yes, but
Further,
these hunters, I mean, Luca found shavings of silver. They knew we were. They knew we were there.
and it
The
seems
only
like
the only people that are regularly equipped to handle us are either hunters or Pentex that we've been fighting against for quite some time. That's what has been the war effort on your end, Ben, in regards to Pentex.
We've been keeping pretty. I mean, unless you have any information on that one, Sam.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Tamsin, Ben, both of you are aware of a few holdings of the Pentex Corporation and for the sake of the audience and for the vampires present who might not know, the Wyrm is essential to, life on this planet. But the Wyrm isn't supposed to be more powerful than other powers of the triad because it is purely destructive, which upends the power of order and wild chaos that are supposed to be all equal to one another. And although many companies inadvertently contribute to the growth of the Wyrm by way of pollution, other non-environmentally friendly practices, moral corruption that has nothing to do with the environment, one company stands above all the rest, deliberately working to advance the growth of the Wyrm. Not the Wyrm's choices, not the Wyrm's goals. The Wyrm is just power. It has no goals. But the Pentex Corporation helps the Wyrm's influence to grow, usually by way of shell corporations and other holdings that aren't easily tied back to them, with so many lawyers that don't care how sharp your claws are. And out here in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of Pentex's interests have to do with attempting to put in additional pipelines that run across the border into Washington or even up into Canada, taking out naturalized spaces that have been designated as protected wildlife territory, as well as additional logging efforts, etc. So you do know that although it's not as bad as it was before the establishment of the EPA, the Sierra Project, and other such organizations out here in Portland in particular, there are some assholes in town who are still furthering the interests indirectly and directly of the Pentex Corporation.
We've been dealing with small pockets of them, but nothing of large mass, and nothing of this kind of coordination.
There's weeks of their involvement. We should look into them a little more thoroughly.
Your pocket does vibrate, Luca.
Looking at it, which letter is present?
Well, you actually tell me what is a different nonsense word than I believe you said Ghibli previously.
Ghibli, this would be throw me for a loop here. Jimmy. We'll go with Jimmy.
Great, we're sticking with J's. All right. Jimmy sends you a message that says T is indisposed, riding in back of car, unknown where we're going. We'll keep you updated. End of communique.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Luca,
assets on the grid.
No, you go. I was about to ask if you had any info, but you seem like you do.
I have assets already on ground doing their own investigations. Part of a strike force that does covert operations against Pentex. So they are currently looking into something now over by the golf course, the Riverside Golf Course and Country Club.
Country Club screams Pentex. Maybe that would be a good place to try and look. I was going to suggest maybe investigating the satellite campus and lab, but maybe that would be a good start.
Well, my strike team is pretty capable of handling themselves. I think the satellite base would be more ideal. As your friend has most recently gone dark, correct?
Yes, it's not like him to suddenly cut off when he's in a mid-rant saying about the great things he's discovered and where he wants me to be. So I am slightly worried, yes.
And I would also like to clean up any remaining samples of Gauru blood being experimented on. So that would be ideal.
I would.
Then it sounds like we're heading down to Salem, unless somebody had additional input there that I cut off.
Not additional input, but I had a willpower roll.
Oh, yes.
That's right. Thank you. So, trying to retake command of your mind to bring back some of the more helpful voices, I asked you to make a willpower check. And to your credit, I believe I didn't establish a difficulty, which puts us at 3. How'd you do?
So there's 2 successes, 2 failures, and 1 crit fail.
Oh, Jesus.
And for everybody's edification, doesn't matter how many crits you have or crit fails you have, as long as you have successes. So good to know. Unfortunately, 2 is not sufficient. You know that those remaining voices are still there. They're part of you. You can feel them. But at the moment, it's almost like an ad blocker has been put up and they've been designated ads. And the only voice screaming on repeat all these rambling thoughts on actions you've taken in the last days, weeks, months that finally get the forefront. You can tell that voice has been there this whole time before. He's your maker. That voice is always there, just like Roz's maker's voice is always there, Cassandra's, etc. Now he's really enjoying being the only voice you can hear, and he's not just coming out when your hunger's being stirred. You can try again in the next scene to bring back one of the more investigatory minds, if not all of them.
I think Flynn has, as all of this has been happening, Tamsin would know for a fact that Flynn has been taking notes as things have been happening, and the fact that he's not giving input is odd. Mm-hmm. And anytime you've looked at him, his eyes are closed, his brows are furrowed, and every once in a while he'll whisper something to himself, and when he just can't get to those individuals, like mid-conversation, you guys just hear him yell, "Fuck!"
Can I go and crouch in? Is it you're sat on like a chair or something, right? Or like one of the sofas? I'm gonna go and crouch, like, so I'm my eye line. I'm gonna take off my glasses so I'm eye level with Flynn, and I'm gonna look at him and I'm gonna go, which one's bothering you?
The one I thought I got rid of for good.
I can't perform the rite. I'm like, I could try and banish him if you wanted. It'll take a bit of time, but I could give it a go.
I don't know how that affects anything that's up here.
Well, as someone who's previously had voices in their head, not quite as literally, what are they telling you? What is he telling you?
He's literally just chastising and critiquing everything that I do, all of the work that I've ever done, all the effort I put into literally anything, including the current investigation. He's keeping me from getting back to any of the information I currently had because he changed all of my fucking clothes and got rid of my notebook.
Darling, as someone who knows you a little bit, you don't need the notebook. You know it all. You're good enough already on your own.
I can't get to it. It's all stuck.
I'm gonna like slow. I know Flynn's not a hugger, but I'm gonna slowly embrace Flynn, and I'm gonna whisper in his ear as I sort of try, almost like my eyes glow like a wolf, and I'm gonna go, "Get out of his head, or I will make you get out forever." And try and like use my persuasion to calm Flynn down.
I'm just gonna make a composure check.
That seems fair to me. I mean, we could do willpower as well.
That gives me a larger dice pool, and I feel like this would be a smaller thing.
I'll allow it.
Am I trying to beat it or lose?
Let's do this. Tamsin, you are seeking to be comforting at the moment.
Comforting to Flynn, yes.
Yes, specifically. And by the way, you are trying to be calming, which I believe is something that you are particularly good at, tea or otherwise. And as a result of that, I would like you to give me charisma and persuasion. Sure. And Flynn, I'm going to be
Oh.
mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have you roll both resolve and composure.
Okay.
Tamsin, don't forget you take that additional die because you're attempting to be calming.
I'm going to see how Flynn does first.
That's 3 successes.
I got 8 successes with a critical.
Damn.
Yeah. Flynn.
There's a reason we keep her around. She
Yeah.
keeps the rest of us calm.
Sometimes you really need like the people person, quote unquote, even if they're not an outward people person in the party. And as a result of that, have you ever had a squad of friends help you to back down just a really aggro mansplainer or toxic masculinity, bro? Because internally, that's sort of what's happening at the moment. Warm cup of tea near you, not in your hands, because it's not something you can imbibe. Calming hand on your shoulder or withheld if you're not a person who likes to be touched, but just mentally. The vibe of I'm here for you doesn't have to be outwardly bombastic in any way, shape, or form, is shutting down Alexander's voice in your mind. And he knows it. He is getting louder. He's speaking faster. It's as if the celerity he experienced in his unlife is being transferred to his mouth as he realizes his presence in this space is losing its impact because that goddamn dog, which he keeps shouting, is getting into business that has nothing to do with her. And he gets more quiet, and then quieter still. Just a little pipsqueak, and that's all he ever was anyways. And then that voice is silent. This is calming, but at least at the moment, can't be that calming with this actual silence. Where are the others? They're still
Yeah,
not back.
there's nothing.
Which is better?
I think there's this you can watch in his eyes more than anything else, and in like the muscles of his body, he starts to release the tension, and his eyes seem to get confused, curious, and then trepidatious. Because he's got nothing going on up here, and that's not normal.
And on that note, I believe that we are all going to be piling into an assortment of vehicles and motorcycles and not going separate ways, but instead heading down as a unit to the town of Salem to investigate a satellite off-campus facility for the University of Portland. I see a finger coming up.
As a preparational measure, Luca is going to enact the Rite of Rage for the Garu.
And please tell us, for the sake of the audience, and let's be honest, the storyteller, what that means.
Rite of Rage. I can generate 1 to 2 points of rage. It's on page 181. Look. Whip. Too far. And let me regale you with the system of Rite of Rage. Based on the base difficulty of the rite is equal to the number of participants, though never less than 3. Upon a win, every participant increases their rage by 1 point. Brutal outcome does not cause the rite to fail, but each brutal outcome causes all participants to suffer 1 level of superficial damage as the aggression explodes outward. The fire dance burns out, control spread, blah, 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 blah. Ritualized duel ends in real bloodshed. Da, da, da. So basically, I'm psyching up the Garu. So it's a pool of glory and intimidation for Luca. And then the difficulty is going to be 3 because it's Ben, Tamsin, and I.
Yep.
So that means my pool is glory, which is 2. Intimidation is 2. How delightful. Okay, and I believe I get an extra die for my thunder. I do.
I believe that is correct.
So look at that. That's 5 die. You get to switch out 1 for a rage die. Let's roll. That's 2. I'm going to cash in a willpower to reroll 3.
Probably a good idea.
And that's cocked. That's okay. There's 3. 3 beats it. Beats it.
It's immediately. That is correct. Yes.
Sweet.
This ritual undoubtedly takes place in the backyard, away from the view of the street, so that the house itself does not get riled up. Pillows don't get stabbed, blood doesn't get anywhere in particular. But what would look odd at first, but is nevertheless intimidating in a cool way for Guru who understand and respect the right. 3-person mosh pit forms in the backyard behind Tamsin's tea cottage, and all of you are about to hop in the car and have that like K-pop Demon Hunters moment where they're about to go after the Sasha boys at the variety show, where they're like screaming with metal playing in the background and putting on makeup and changing clothes. But it's very much just like a get hyped, like shouting in each other's faces and like, shedding some blood that immediately reheals as a result of like the wolf being stirred, despite you not necessarily being in the greater forms of the beast. And as a result of that, how much rage does everybody get, just in case it's needed down south?
I think I'm gonna equal. Upon a win, every participant increases their rage by 1 point. So just 1 point.
Hey, that matters. All right. So all of you are ready to literally rage and roll if something kicks off either on the journey or down at the campus. Before we join our monster squad in the city of Salem, due south and a little bit west of Portland, Oregon, we're going to be journeying once again a few years into the past of Los Angeles with Flynn and his sire, Alexander. Flynn, a calendar year has passed since the previous scene that we explored at the onset of this session, and unfortunately vlogging has not proven to be the money-making scam that Alexander was hoping it would be. And if the two of you were living reasonably well, as all vampires should they have lived for as many decades as Alexander has, and the means by which he's teaching you to take care of yourself in your new life, shame is brought upon your house, leaving behind the 2-story apartment in downtown and finding yourselves on the outskirts of Inglewood in a 2-bedroom, single story, in a less reputable neighborhood and much more confined spaces with fewer resources, fewer ways to easily escape and be on your own, and otherwise fewer means of finding escape and joy when under the direct thumb of a now beleaguered, belittled, and enraged sire who has shortened your leash and giving you nothing but ire. We start this scene once again with you seemingly in trouble for being at the house by yourself while not being given express permission to leave the house to take upon yourself any exploits you might be interested in. In these dramatically different settings, what are you doing tonight before his return?
A year ago, the first real thoughts about escape, how he could finally get out, have slowly burbled into an actual plan. As things have dropped in reputation and escalated in anger and tension, I imagine whatever prizes or trophies that Alexander had previously had for whatever escapades and things that he had previously done, there's in the main area, so it's visible to anyone who happens to be over. They're just displayed. And some of them, because we know how trophies are constructed, are relatively sharp. And given things that happen later that haven't been told in our story yet, Flynn has a folklore block that he received because of his sire, who has a full bane of the same thing. And this is one of the only weaknesses Flynn knows of. He knows his bane, He knows he's not very strong, but he's fast and he's clever. So he's sitting in his room with the door locked, scheming over how he can pull control of the situation and get out, because he's done. And there's voices throwing cautions, throwing advice, telling him not to do it. All it's just a jumble of chaos in his head.
And for those of you at home watching, and for those around the table to join you in the drama of this tension, knowing full well that we do see Flynn in Portland over a decade later, and that this scene surely won't go too poorly, even if things don't go your way or to plan. What is that folkloric block that is for him a bane that may be central, if not essential, to the plan you're coming up with?
Iron.
Mm-hmm. Iron. Glass trophies. Pointy. Maybe slow him down. Poor source of actual staking. The metal ones, for when he actually got some game awards, that was embarrassing. They weren't even first place, but the base of them, they certainly have some iron. This house, which itself serves as a little bit of a trophy, for he lost everything on some stupid scheme that was supposed to make him look cool. This house is a trophy indicating that he didn't fall from all of his graces, and an investigator of your sort is able to determine just how much possibly accessible iron foundation work could be accessed if you just push yourself a little bit beyond your usual amount of vigor. Because again, he's fast, but he's not strong. These, once again, are the thoughts that are assailing you while you are yourself attempting to come up with the actual plan, not just jumping off points. And you have 3 assignments from not the LA Times, but from a lesser yet still reputable Los Angeles publication, waiting for your attention before they are wrought from you. Because unfortunately, although you are still a primary point of income in the life of Alexander, and let's be honest, you always were, because if somebody else is doing the real work, that allowed him to play, to flit about, to take on these schemes that have now left you both destitute. You can't safely give that job your attention while you know he at any point, any day, could turn on you simply out of spite. What's the plan? What are we going to do? These are just ideas. What's the plan?
I think his plan, that's slowly been folding out over the last year. For him, Iron, he'll walk away with a couple of burns and some scars, but he'll live. He'll be okay. It'll leave not permanent, but lasting damage, but he's okay with that. He knows which of those trophies have bits of iron in them, and he knows, after digging up the blueprints of this house, exactly where the most iron is in different applications and the things that might be in the kitchen.
Everyone assembled might remember that in our previous chapter, Luca explored similar moments in his past, and unfortunately, but still sensibly, did not have full access to the current character sheet he would years later with more experience. Flynn, you too have grown in the preceding decade. And as a result, in this moment in Los Angeles, you have fewer resources available to you. And as a result, I would like you to make a willpower check, but remove 1 die from your usual pool, reflecting the lesser state you were in just a decade ago. Just out of curiosity, how many dice does that leave you with?
I normally have 6, so it would leave me with 5.
That's not too bad. That is your difficulty.
That one's cocked. Okay. That is 3 and a critical success.
Yeah, that'll do it. What you hear, once again, strangely finding its way louder than the other voices in your mind, is that yet to be named female. Have you named her, by the way? If she won't give you her name, do you have a means by which you refer to her, or is she just her?
I think it's more of that amorphous her, because
Mhm.
Flynn, as a writer, doesn't like putting false information on things he doesn't have all of the facts on.
I respect the integrity. As a result of your die roll, she speaks back out and she says, "I didn't tell him anything. He knows something's going on, but I need you to know I didn't tell him anything. You need to leave. You need to leave."
I can't leave until he's dead.
"That's not true. You can go. He's coming right now." And you hear the door crash open out in the foyer of this house. You are back in the smaller of the two bedrooms presently. This is your office. This is your personal haven. Your curtains were taken down upon both of you moving in so that he could have a second set of curtains that match the house decor. And you, unfortunately, now have layers of duct tape and newspaper. Your furnishing has been laid out to be simply what's needed for office purposes, and out of fear of your window failing you, you are reduced to sleeping in your closet. You have been made to feel lesser at every turn, and Flynn is intelligent enough, even if we were to reduce your stats to reflect the change of time, to fully understand that it is simply a means by which Alexander can bolster himself and nothing more. But all the way back in the deepest recesses of this house, you are warned. You're given the benefit of knowledge that none of the plans you have laid bare have been revealed, but unfortunately, your cards have been somewhat shown. Otherwise, why would she be reaching out to warn you? And he's here now.
As soon as she starts talking, Flynn starts moving.
Mm-hmm.
He's out from his desk, and I think he's going for the closest access point to the most amount of iron he can get as soon as she starts talking.
Now, for decades, over a century perhaps, everyone in California, Southern California especially, has been spreading rumors about the big one. There's always that huge earthquake everybody's afraid of coming, and as a result of that, many homes were able to lower the costs of potentially rising earthquake insurance by ensuring that at least one interior door frame was more supported and would act as a potential point of stability for persons to escape to in the event of a large-scale earthquake. It's actually the one that goes into the restroom just down the hall from where you are presently, and simply using just a little bit of your undead strength would be all that's necessary to shear away layers of drywall, of the sheetrock that lies underneath, the wood that comes that's on the exterior of the actual door frame, and reveal quite a few pieces of rebar that are bolstering the stability of that door frame. But can you get to that point before Alexander meets you down here in the hall? I would like you to make a preparedness check, and I'll let you choose the skill that would be necessary for you to have been beginning to put this plan into place. It will be intelligence plus, and again, it's a skill of your choice. But whatever pool you build, know that I'm going to ask you to reduce it by 1, a polite means by which we show that this is in the past.
A skill, not another attribute?
Correct. Intelligence plus skill.
Can I use a skill that I have a specialty in?
I know which skills you have specialties in. Not a lot of them would make sense for this unless you wanted to go with history.
I was
Under
kind
academic.
of thinking subterfuge using misdirection.
We could go with that. I missed that one. Yes. So your pool, instead of 6 coming from intelligence 3, subterfuge plus misdirection 3, would go down to 5. And what we're going with is if you had previously put measures into place that would allow for you to know exactly where to be before he can meet you down the hallway. Your difficulty, just for the sake of the scene, is only 4.
Okay. I just barely make it on 4 successes.
Phenomenal. You get through your door. If this goes to plan, you won't have to live here anymore. So unlike the necessary effort you usually put into opening the door in your direction, you are able to Kool-Aid man through a cheap, old house's obvious replacement door from whatever happened as a result of its previous residency, and you make it down the hall. This is even part of your plan. He wouldn't expect you to do something like that. He's not thinking that you have something craftier in mind. Knowing full well that he will meet you where you are, you stop just shy of that door frame. And now, in the blink of an eye, less than that, he is standing before you. He has chosen one of his lesser trophies, a broken off baseball bat. One that comes from some degree or another of esports competition with a actual sports element using the old MLB series of video games, one in which he did relatively well. And this splintered wooden bat is in his hand, and he holds it above you, wanting to savor in his dominion, his obvious speed, and an undisputable power he has simply by being older. And as he grips you with one hand, you feel that it's not any stronger than what you could do yourself by means of main strength. He holds the stake, and that's precisely what he's done by breaking this bat off directly above. And he states, "Tell me why this shouldn't go into you immediately. I know you're planning something. Admit it. And I might put you into torpor instead of ending you immediately."
In a moment where he should be feeling fear, as he's staring at his sire, throwing right back at him what Flynn has been receiving since he was sired, is that shit-eating grin of, you don't know shit. And knowing what his strength is, grabs his hand that's grabbing him and is going to roll onto his back and use his legs to propel him to the wall and then roll back up to get to the iron.
I then, because that sounds like an intricate maneuver, would like you to make a dexterity and brawl check for me, please. And that will be contested against his dexterity and melee as he attempts to stake you. I'm going to remind you, by the way, that even if you're physically younger, you are of your generation, and if you need to, you can blood surge for 2 additional die. Dia, I shortchanged you earlier. I forgot that if you blood surge, you gain 2 additional die at your current generation. But the story has progressed. I do apologize for how things shook out. Flynn, if you need that, that's at your disposal.
I'm using it because I'm not taking any fucking chances right now.
I have rolled 2 successes, I'll tell you that now, so I have to do the same.
I'm shaking.
Okay.
That is 3 successes and 2 crits.
You know what's really cool? You obviously beat a 5 simply by way of having the crits. So what happens is the stake comes up, lightning speed. He feels your immediate attempt to twist and leverage, and he attempts to use that speed you're so used to shove you to the wall, placing the stake through you and into the wall. The problem being that preparedness check that you used earlier puts you in the exact place where just a slight shift of your ankle, which is part of the rolling maneuver that you described anyways, puts his foot off the ground and his back moving towards the ground. Super speed helps him to speed read. It helps him to brush his teeth more quickly if that matters to him. It doesn't have to do with just being on your feet and large motor control things. But if you're not on your feet, you can't really do too much. So your very successful preparedness check from earlier puts him in the air. It allows you to dodge underneath him and place his body up against the door frame And we're going to do another physical contest wherein I would like you to make strength, which is the exact same strength score he has, and brawl, and he is going to attempt to dodge. Or I guess he has to block because, again, he's not on his feet at the moment. So I'll tell you right now that he is obviously going to rouse and blood surge again, and you have the opportunity to now do that as well. We're not using hunger at the moment, or actually, please, if you want to round blood surge, please give me 2 rouse checks, one for the previous and one for this next. Because he previously surged his dexterity and now he's having to surge his strength, and I believe you have done the same.
Both are successes, and I am going to surge again.
Phenomenal. Okay, my pool is only 4.
Same.
Great.
Don't fuck me over.
Okay, you have willpower. For narrative purposes, I do not. If you need to use willpower, feel free to do so. And once you're ready, we are both going to hold up the number of fingers for the number of successes we
How do I use willpower?
You will superficially mark 1 of your willpower and any non-hunger dice. And at the moment, you would have in the past 1 hunger. You can roll any failed black dice, any skill dice, if you will, up to 3. And I'm ready with my number of fingers. Once you've rolled and you're ready to commit to this action, we're going to hold up our fingers at the same time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
4 beats 3.
Because I had 2 successes, but I had 2 that were crits, which makes it 2 more, right? That's how that works?
It certainly is.
Okay.
It certainly does. Yes.
Cool.
So let's talk about intent here. Neither of you are physically strong.
No.
But you're able to surge your blood, as is he, and that puts you into supernatural strength territory. As a result of that, he attempts to shove back at you with 0 leverage whatsoever. Doesn't work. What you do, using your supernaturally driven strength, is you shove into the wall. And then if you were previously holding sort of the shoulders, but holding upwards to be lifting him, you break through the wall and you quickly, feeling a little bit of that celerity you don't have, but he does, go down to the abdomen so that you can push directly up into the crevice that you've created. And yeah, that's getting through into the bent and broken off rebar from your initial shove. And he is immediately run through by 3 pieces of iron. Your single success over his would confer normally 1 point of superficial damage, which can't be rounded down because normally you all would round down superficial damage from mundane sources. And that's just from the simple act of your strength overpowering his and being pushed through a wall. But as a result of his genuine folkloric bane being pierced through by 3 solid pieces of iron, he cries out in pain and immediately begins bleeding from the mouth. And you have a brief couple of moments before he genuinely goes torporous and ash begins slowly falling away from his face, where he has not yet met his final death, but he is quickly on his way. What do you do?
As soon as Flynn can feel the rebar puncture, his hand on the shoulders slaps over Alexander's mouth, so any noise he makes cannot be heard outside of this house.
Mm-hmm.
And just staring him down says, "This is for the years of abuse and torture, you absolute fuck. Enjoy your life in hell."
And he's attempting to wrestle against you as Vitae falls away from the wounds coming through his torso. Additional Vitae, his empowered blood, the entire reason that he's undead alongside yourself, is seeping through your fingers. And he is slowly melting. Years are catching up with him. It's not Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You don't poof into ash that easily. No. His mess will forever be a stain on this house. Even after they tear this section down and rebuild it, that Vitae is seeped into the floors. It is now in the foundations. They would have to completely tear down and rebuild this home, which, let's be frank, in the next decade or so could well happen. But he is now only in evidence on this planet by way of his shitty attempts to be relevant in the past years and the blood he's leaving in the concrete below. we now return to the 5 South, a common freeway along the West Coast that takes you all the way from San Diego, California, up to Anchorage, Alaska. But in this stretch in particular, you are now arriving in the town of Salem. You are all aware of the efforts that were previously meant to be taking place investigating a location by the name of Clear Lake, which is a very small crescent-shaped body of water that is only loosely defined as being a lake, simply by way of its geography being indicated as such on a map. But unlike your previous attempts to look into potential Hecate clan activity that has to do with said lake, you move on over to a satellite location that has to do with biological sciences and phlebotomy training center purposes of the University of Portland. Arriving outside this space, it is nighttime. It's probably, I don't know, 10, 11 by the time you would get here, having woken up and had the discussion you did at Dr. Tamsin's home. And individuals are milling about. You can tell that anybody who would be on site for educational purposes is likely winding up, unless they're one of those grad students who just can't walk away from the work. And although it's not an empty, small campus space, large enough that maybe 200 students and staff members could all be present at the same time taking operations, I'm losing track of my description. It's not crowded, but it's not empty. You know where to go. What do you all do?
As we start rolling up, I'm going to message Roz and say, the students will probably recognize you. Do you want to be recognized, or do you want to wear a shitty famous person disguise like a hat or something?
I've got this, don't worry. She's going to grab a pair of sort of thick-rimmed glasses and just put those on, and probably look up. Do you have clothes of your own? She's going to steal one of your hoodies.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't typically wear it, but he keeps a hoodie in the sidecar, and a pair of aviator glasses for the sunnier days.
She's using her own. It looks like they would have been prescription had she been human.
I like it.
And for the record, you are the front person for Delirium. Obviously, people are going to occasionally recognize you in a hoodie and aviators. That's precisely what Roz, and they hope they can call you Roz, of Delirium would look like, and they're trying to downplay their appearance and presence. But you're going to get less looks. You're going to be less easy to identify. And the time it takes you to get from the parking lot, which, by the way, risk it at your own, or I guess, yeah, risk it at your own risk. Fuck it. I'm too tired to come up with a different phrase. It's paid parking only, my friends. You could get towed or ticketed, but walking from the parking lot to the actual buildings, Roz is stopped twice. Could have been way more. Do you take selfies? Do you give autographs, or do you just say hello and try to keep moving?
I do give autographs. I say hello, and we keep moving, and then I tell them, shh, it's a secret.
And Luca makes it an effort to scare off any of the more lingering fans.
Oh yeah,
the ones that don't give her the space.
Wait, hold on. We just have to get a selfie. Wait.
Just piercing yellow eyes, just looking at him, just like fuck off.
Not to mention at this point, because we're not needing to talk at the moment, you also have a large dog around at all times.
I was about to say, Alpha, are we doing plan domesticated or plan human?
Yeah, no, we're not. There is no best. It would be the equivalency of the last time somebody decided they were going to, linger too long, and Ben just with a nice little.
Mr. Tabletop Misfit, please roll a single D10 for me and tell me what happens.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It is a crit.
It's a crit? Okay, cool. Now, in a different reality, there would be a campus security person who would politely indicate that animals of this nature could only be on campus if they're emotional support or disability service dogs, which would put you in a shameful position of having to wear your vest or coat. But in case you initially attempted to be on campus without it, the good news is with a crit, it seems like this close to Halloween, such individuals are too busy taking care of other things. And you neither need to be on leash at the moment, nor do you need to be vested up. As a couple of kids go walking away and say, "Oh my God, I think that guy's wearing contacts," talking about the scary Luca, who mean mugged down some of the fans who would have accosted Roz. All of you find yourselves outside of the Biological and Life Science Pavilion, which at a satellite campus is not a large structure by any means. This is a glorified strip mall-sized area, functioning as a satellite campus. So picture your standard strip mall, copy and paste it, and that's about the size of building structures and amount of buildings that you're dealing with presently. Once again, with an emphasis, at least in this area, on biological and life sciences. And you may or may not have been here before, but you know enough about educational facilities that you can get a good sense upon entering where a lab might be, and a lab is precisely where you would want to go. Are we checking the area, or are we heading straight to our intended target?
Luca would attempt to use his environmental awareness to assure that the group is not being spied on.
Perfect. As a result of that, I would like you to make either, let's go resolve, or wits and awareness.
Like it. Either way, it's the same. That being said, since I did point out that it is environmental awareness, that is a specialty that I have chosen, I get an additional die. Thank you.
But a curse.
And then I get to switch out 2 ability for the rage. That's right.
Yep. Please fail. Just kidding.
My pool should be 5 in total. All right. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 more is 6 in total. 3.
I have a very old version of your sheet, I guess, and I trust you.
Sorry, I need to update it.
You're good.
So 2 rage, 3 wits, 2 environmental. Yep, we're good. Okay.
Since I didn't state it, your difficulty is simply a 3 to gain surface knowledge, but you need a 6 to get additional knowledge.
Ooh. Then in that case, I will cash in 1 more willpower to see if I can spot any critical information. So far, we have 3 successes. I want to see if I can get more. Give me a crit. Ah, fuck. That's 5.
Didn't
5
happen.
successes.
Yeah. 5 is decent, however. Looking around the area, you spot no more than a dozen individuals moving about. There's one person wandering who would match the description as these semi-security personnel that are described as potentially being a point of aggress for Ben, who's dealing with other matters. There's other students moving around. You don't see anybody lingering or trying to blend in, which you know is much more dangerous than idiots who are just hunkering down in the bushes most of the time, who's keeping an eye on your little cadre that showed up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
all seems good.
With the coast clear, Luke is going to trail behind, just keeping an open eye out for the perimeter, and then follow in behind the rest of the group.
Now, here's an important question. Are you carrying a duffel bag, a golf bag, valise of some kind or another that would allow for you to mask the fact that you're walking around with a rifle, or is that rifle staying behind on the bike?
Luca would have collapsed or disassembled the rifle and concealed it in his pants. It's easy to do, trust me. I know this.
No, I know. I'm just picturing all the cosplay I've seen of Luca usually being in jeans and a leather vest, and I'm trying to imagine that being convenient in jeans in particular.
That's the leather vest is concealing back end. I just shove it back down there, and then vest over top, good to go.
Well,
barrel. I just can't sit down.
As an actual
Yeah.
I'm just going to defer to you. I'm sure. So
I've
that
done it before. I know.
Yep. Now, all of you, we're not going to ask questions about that on stream, at least. You all head inside this building, and despite me having to my attempts to downplay it, just for you to not think of it as being a large-scale university space, but instead something much smaller, part of a much smaller city as well. Upon entering, there are rooms, whether for classes or for lab tech purposes, both on the right and the left. When entering, you are looking at a combination of geological science, organic chemistries, bios and biochems, and probably about halfway down the building is where it's most obvious that organic chemistry and biological sciences would intersect, especially with reference to there being the phlebotomy training pavilion just next to these two different lab areas. All right. I imagine that we head straight down to these spaces. Is any additional investigation or looking about happening, or are we heading down the halls and to the class and labs?
I know. Sorry, I just know that Jackson mentioned the name of the dog.
You muted
You went
yourself.
mute for some reason.
Yeah, you went muted.
Oh, I just remember that Jackson did mention the name of the doctor who was working on this, but Alex has forgotten her name, but Tamsin wouldn't have. I would look for sort of the office, or like when you go into a university building, there's usually like an office list and like whereabouts that would be in the building, and just sort of go that way with Ben.
Raise your hand if you're a perfect person. Nope, none of you. Me neither. That was a calendar month ago, and oh well, never mind. So Daddy Tarzan number is a perfect person. I know there's an 8 in there somewhere, but I am not. And as a result of that, I failed to write down the name of the doctor a month ago. But you are correct, and I'm just going to go with Dr. Harvey, being the individual that you might be looking for. So Dr. Harvey's specific office is just like all of the other visiting or resident professor offices in a different building, separate from the classes and labs, but still on site.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of splitting up the group, so I'll make note of that, but we'll keep going towards where we probably either smell or sort of can figure out based on the layout of the building where sort of like blood testing would be done.
Oh, yeah. Now, you can imagine that there's probably some of that in one of the other bioscience areas, but the obvious move is to go towards the phlebotomy training area. And surprise, surprise, since that seems to be part of specialty schooling, when you first arrive at the door, it is locked. It being at or after 10 p.m., that's not a surprise.
Key or badge?
This is a older building, so key.
I look around to my compatriots and I go, anyone good with locks?
Pulls out a lockpick set, and we'll go to town on that lock.
Phenomenal. Purchased from Mercedes, I believe, just the day before. This is a pretty simple mechanical lock. What you're facing is a traditional two will get the door open, but you'll break the kit, or will allow for you to get both unlock and reuse the kit later without obvious signs of you having broken in.
Ooh.
And that will be dexterity and larceny.
I figured. All right, here we go.
I assume that a big dog and a couple of other humanoid individuals are forming something of a screen, since the hallway's not completely empty.
Yeah, and I'll keep my nose on the swivel.
It's worth mentioning, now that you're inside, there are far fewer people than there were outside. You heard, passing some of the other rooms, what sounded like individuals still in classroom settings, and maybe one or two people in different science-related labs, but way fewer people in general.
Be 3 successes for the lockpick.
Okay. 3, unfortunately, breaks the set with reference to you being able to effectively open a similar mechanical lock, but you're able to get the door open. That was goal number 1.
Nothing Roz can't buy me later.
Exactly. She does have Basilius's black card. It does not seem to have stopped working. In my mind, I picture there being a quick stop for food at like a McDonald's for the werewolves or something like that. Yes. And the door is open, and what you're looking at is a combined classroom and lab style environment with an emphasis on the lab that is perfectly outfitted for phlebotomy training, largely centered around blood draw and saline injection, which are the two core elements of phlebotomy training. And there are also a few desks with computers that seem to be here for lab techs and teaching purposes that have nothing to do with the educational environment. The lights are off. The room is empty, which is, once again, totally expected because the door was locked and it's so late.
Luca would would be the first one to enter and just do a quick preliminary scan, make sure there's no surprises for us waiting on the inside.
Please then do me a solid and hit me with another one of those wits and awareness checks.
Wits and awareness.
What's everybody else up to while he puts together that pool?
Flynn would probably follow close after because of the way that Flynn feeds. He has phlebotomy training, and will pop heightened senses just to make sure there's not any other things that might not be caught by normal stuff.
As Luca undoubtedly is still putting together his dice pool, rolling it, counting successes, trying to find ways to argue for more, Flynn, you have, for free, no hunger rouse necessary, heightened your senses as described, and you can choose sense, actual scent, you can choose sight, you can activate both, but depending on what's before you, that could be to your detriment just as much as they would be your benefit. But as you take in the scenery, looking for anything out of the ordinary, and also looking at what could be mundane, and in case it's missed by the werewolf, I would like you to similarly make wits and awareness, adding 1 die using the discipline. Luca.
What's my difficulty?
We're going to go with another set of mixed results, which has been the case the entire time you've arrived at this campus. This time around, for the all clear to seem good to go on a base level, Quattro.
Okay.
And for potentially bonus and additional information, we'll just do an addition of 2, making 6 yet again.
Cool. I'm going to also cash in my sharpened senses ability to lower the additional information from a 6 down to a 4, so I can get that additional information with 4 successes.
Phenomenal. All right. I want to be able to reward anything that Flynn might catch. Flynn, you have the same difficulties, also 4. So you, for what it's worth, are looking about. You're inhaling. You're looking in corners, crevices. You look up, and you do notice that there's a camera in the room. That's worth noting at all times, and that the green light is on for the camera. But Flynn, you don't see anything else unworldly or concerning. Luca, you walk into the room, and you stand with the back more or less against a wall, so there's nothing that could potentially sneak up behind you, even with so many companions making that seem like a bad idea. And you similarly scent, you look about.
I'll also let you know I also rolled a brutal result as well, just in case that might play out.
I wish it would, but you had some successes. Yeah. Nope.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for trying to help me, though.
No worries.
Your vision is not able to pierce any veils that are occurring, but you definitely smell. There's something in here. It's not mortal, and it doesn't smell like the kindred you're with.
Ooh. I think Luca would raise a hand to everybody else quietly and just finger to the mouth, lips.
Now, are you being obvious that you're trying to warn your compatriots?
If he can do it without alerting anybody, then yes, or then no. It's just more of a silent gesture to the rest of the group to keep their voices down.
So would you say that it's a potent smell?
It is for Luca. Ben, from the hall, you can similarly make a wits and awareness, trying to see what you might be able to smell. Unless you want to enter the space, being out in the hall would make it more difficult, or you can go in. Luca, based on what you stated, I would like you to make either a manipulation and either performance or subterfuge or a dexterity and stealth. I'm guessing you'll go with the latter based on what I'm looking at here. But I would like you to do that to make your signaling apparent only to those who have gotten to know you over the last 24 or so hours.
That's fair.
And Ben would have walked in before he would have.
Sure. So you're dealing with the same difficulties that were outlined previously. And because while that's happening, Cassandra, Tamsin, Roz, these individuals are walking into the dark room. They're doing the thing that a lot of people obviously would do and sort of like check things out since it's been such a wild last week. Are you three doing anything in particular as these three walk in and begin just base investigations?
Roz would like to activate Sense the Unseen.
Okay.
Just to be mindful as we're looking around. If the coast is also clear, if that suggestion is given, the next move she'll make is to go towards where the setup of the phlebotomy training is, and she's specifically looking at the gauges of the needles to see whether they match what we saw the hunters wielding earlier. And what she's trying to determine from that is whether their equipment has been like easily accessible, 23 gauge, less, or whether it's specialized equipment made for a specific purpose.
Got it. Very quickly, I saw you flash your hands, Ben. What was the result?
5.
5. You aren't catching anything out of the ordinary with a 5. You noticed Luca put his hand up, and I'll say that you sort of like stop and continue your investigation. Luca, how was your roll?
5 successes with 2 brutal fails.
5 is exactly what you needed, my friend. So individuals who are part of your party noticed that you're urging caution. Roz, that includes you. Do you still go in and investigate?
I would pause to see whether anything was perceived with Sense the Unseen.
And for my edification, because it's been a little while, would you mind reading the text of Sense the Unseen?
The senses of a vampire become attuned to dimensions beyond the mundane, allowing them to sense presences otherwise hidden from the naked eye. This can be anything from another vampire using obfuscate word to someone using auspex to spy on the character, to a ghost in the middle of a room.
Okay. Interesting.
Real sense.
Yeah. Everybody gets their own. Do me a favor, and I would like you now to put together a wits and awareness. This is World of Darkness's perception check, the most commonly rolled check in any Dungeons and Dragons game. And I would like you to add a die to reflect the discipline that you're using as well. Cassandra.
Yeah.
You don't have to make a rouse hunger check when a premonition just comes to you. As you stand in the hallway, unless you have a different plan of action in mind for Cassandra, I have an idea.
Let's see if it aligns, because I was going to say that Cassandra is being inundated with a bunch of just other people's within the vicinities thoughts and premonitions of their past and futures and potential futures. She hasn't, since she was turned, she's been able to control that. And this is like the first time where she's gotten so many different I guess futures and premonitions in her mind, including the people around her.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. And if you would be ruminating on such things, the good news is, as one of the blood of Malkov, who is capable of premonition, such things could just come to you without you having to bid them yourself, meaning that once again, it comes to you without cost. And what I would like you to do is build a pool for me of, it'll be occult, and I'll let you choose a mental attribute.
Occult, and let's go with awareness, which is
Occult.
4
so that's a skill,
6.
not an attribute. I'm asking for, it'll be, unless you want to use awareness instead of occult.
No, let's use occult, and then
intelligence, wits, or resolve.
Let's go with intelligence.
Okay. So build that pool for me. And again, we have Flynn and Ben having come into the room, and they're scenting, they're looking about, and Luca has caught on to the notion that, oh, yep, it might be a blood sample. It might actually be a physical being. There's definitely something here. It's not mortal. It's not Gru. It's not kindred. And Roz, clued into the notion that something might be hinky, you're deferring your desire to go look into the specialty equipment to see if it looks familiar from what you had experienced last night, or if it's something different entirely, to instead see if you can spot what might be hiding in this space. I asked you to make a roll. You are dealing with the same difficulties that I outlined for the rest of the group, where you might be able to see mundane things they didn't, especially bolstered with a 4 now with Sense the Unseen, or you can get a definitive result with a 6 or higher, knowing full well that if you need to, you can blood surge. Do you want to tell me what you got, or do you want to consider blood surging?
I used Wits plus Aspects, which was the dice pool for the ability that I was using.
Thank you.
And that actually rolled 7 successes with 1 critical.
And Tamsin, did you have any input here before I continued?
Listen, Tamsin was going to use her penumbral senses, but like everyone seems to have stopped and is looking around, and she would definitely notice that at this point. So I think she is more concerned of like, okay, I'm going to shut the door behind us, and I'm also going to look around for security cameras because I don't want to be put in jail for crime.
And so one could argue that because you have an affinity with electronics, you are already zooming in on the camera that was definitely in the hall, tracking you guys coming down to this room. And Flynn looking upwards clues you into the notion that they already spotted a camera that's definitely in the room you're all heading towards. So if you wanted to focus your efforts on using your power of the wolf and the spider to begin influencing those cameras, we can move over to Cassandra.
Yeah.
You rolled
a 10, 2 9s, an 8, a 7, and 2 1s.
Okay, that's 5. I like the difficulty setting that I established previously. So you're going to get something here. You're contemplating your own needs. You're contemplating the side needs alongside those that are your primary goals at the moment. And you're picking through all of these different matters affecting the people who are forcibly around you for the to take care of what's happening presently, as Judith, the primogen of Clan Malkavian in Portland, has asked you for your direct involvement in said matters. And as you think about all of these things and more, you are picturing what appears to be Ben being pummeled. And he's being pummeled by a humanoid who is both laughing and crying. And you see a shadow that is elongating. It's spreading past this humanoid that you can tell is not there, but the shadow is of a wolf. And then you can picture Tamsin. Tamsin is hard to picture based on the time in which you've known her. She is currently in what you can tell would be her Krynos form as she rages through a location that was explored in a session before the beginning of the show called Kennedy's McMenamin's Public Schoolhouse. And she is absolutely ripping shit apart through that space as numerous spikes of unknown origin are piercing her but not slowing her down. You see similar doom and gloom situations befalling all of the individuals who are surrounding you at the moment, and one in particular with a little bit more dire consequences for the current situation is you see the desiccated husks of Roz and Flynn being held up in the air by a silently laughing creature with 2 long arms, 2 long legs. And I'm not saying 2 is in the number, but as in the exaggerated descriptor, as this individual is attacked from all sides to no avail from the remaining individuals in the group who have not yet found the means of meeting their doomed endings that you just saw a potential preview of. And Roz, noticing Luca encouraging caution from all of you and all of your friends moving into this space, shutting the door and sort of taking up defensive postures, trying to explore what would give cause for his hackles to raise. You blink And as your eyes open, they're coated with that film that other individuals who know you well enough to know you're not human can recognize you've opened the third eye. You scan the room, and there are 4 individuals huddled against the adjacent walls opposite you and your numbers with distinct red caps, big toothy grins, with those syringes in one hand and cleavers in the other, and hiding in the back corner, standing to a height of 6 feet, then 7, then hunching over as they elongate to 8, 9, then a full 10 feet tall, a grin expanding with an open jaw to itself be approximately 1 foot in length, closed teeth exposed, is a deeply unsettling individual whose jaw begins dropping in a fashion that is unmistakably fitting the pattern of laughter as shadows spill out from said entity, and those red caps are lunging forward towards all of you, benefiting from said shadows. And I think that's where we're going to call an end to chapter 4.
I hate you.
I love you too.
Boo.
Everything in the world is about to fall apart.
We're getting attacked by red caps from D&D.
Fairies.
This isn't D&D. What is this?
Yes.
Oh,
Red
It's
caps.
kind of D&D if we're being forthright.
How dare you?
Well,
I wrote so much information about these fucking premonitions on one goddamn page.
yay! Because I
Hey.
did.
I want to see that picture later. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with my friends tonight this evening. I had a great time. I'm sincerely hoping that all of you did as well. Before we wrap up this session in earnest, I want to give everyone here their platform to say what they're excited about, who they are, and where you can find them again. I'm going to go in reverse order, at least as far as starting off the popcorn train going, of how we introduced ourselves initially with our good friend Sam.
Hi, I am Classic Sam NYGM, Classic Sam NYGM on all social media platforms. You can find me mainly here on Twitch, I guess you could say, where I do interviews with amazing content creators like the ones you see here on your screen. For the next couple of days coming up, I will be, by the time this airs, I guess I'll be in PAX? I don't know. I'll be somewhere. So,
No, you'll be here.
I'll be there. Yes, I'll be in Virginia. I'll be in Dragonford. Thank you. I'll be somewhere. I thought I was going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing an interview on the 7th with the amazing Dreaded GM at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Can't wait for that to happen. And with that, I'm going to popcorn over to Tarzan.
Oh, greetings and salutations. I am Daddy Tarzan 82855 of 2B Dice Adventures. We stream a bunch of wonderful different stories. Mine being Star Wars: Edge of the Empire. If you would like to check that out, it streams every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Arizona Standard Time, whichever. Yeah, let's go with Ben.
I am Tabletop Misfits James. I am the creator of Tabletop Misfits and owner, along with a wonderful crew of people that we picked up over the year. And you can find me running games tomorrow night as we pick back up in our story of Dress to Quest, where we continue to venture into Icewind Dale. The party has just arrived in Bryn Shander after a very interesting moment that happened at Mysticon, which we'll go over tomorrow night. And then, of course, you can also see us on Wednesdays and Thursdays here on the channel as well. And we'll pop that one to Flynn.
Hi, I'm KJ. You can find me at a couple of different places. I also play on 2B Dice's channel, The Dimensional Dial Dr. Diago, where I play 2 characters in one, and I love them. They're my baby. But more frequently actually, before this comes out that morning, I will be playing with Of Lycan and Moss on that channel, the campaign of Brass and Briar, where I play a ferret folk acrobatic circus individual, and we just hit Spooky Town. We're in the middle of trying to sneak through a corrupted tree city that has been taken over by some necrotic forces. You can find me personally. I can do this, guys. I'm a professional. You can find me personally at various forms of KJ cosplay. Twitch is KJ_cosplay, where I stream personal stuff. I'm slowly getting back into streaming. Hopefully the next game I'll be playing is Hollow Knight, since I've never played it before and somebody bought me the game.
Who you popcorning to?
Popcorn to Dia.
Hey guys, I have been Dia, also known as Diavel.calls on all social media. I highly recommend you pop over to my Instagram because by the time this airs, we would have been 2 weeks past the wrapping up of Wintergeddon Armageddon Expo, which is our largest national convention here in New Zealand. So a couple photos of various cosplays from the time would have been released. Alternatively, you can also find me over at the 2B Dice channel, playing as Xenia during our Thursday campaign, Tales of Varden. Or alternatively from that, you can also find me at Record of the Realms, where they have a regular Sunday campaign weekly in which I have recently joined as Rhea, who is our lovely human blood hunter of the Forge Breaker Order. So, yeah. I will
And last
popcorn
but not
over
least-
to Alex.
Yep.
Me, hi, I'm Alex, aka Blonded94. I think pretty much on all the things now. And I was playing Dr. Tamsin Newman, the Phylodox Glasswalker, whose bones are made of glass and cannot fight. So this will be interesting next time. And wow, who's that telling the story? Who's that guy over there? It's Sam, the other one.
Hi, I'm the other one. You can find me anywhere. Just Google Sam. It's probably me. And if it's not, that's more likely to be the case. You can find me on most socials at Dungeon Samster. I do a lot of great things here on Tabletop Misfits with James. James, thank you for creating Tabletop Misfits and having me. And the other thing supporting the stream, in addition to our wonderful cast and my storytelling this evening, are some cool sponsors. In the event you want to represent Tabletop Misfits, including our program from Beaker Builds, because he has a shirt as well, you can find both the classic Tabletop Misfits and Beaker Builds designs on dungeongrandmaster.com. Links will be provided in the stream for you to locate that. We are, of course, supported by the wonderful Monument Studios, providing amazing sounds, not only for campaigns in World of Darkness, but for Dungeons & Dragons and so many other play settings beyond. Can't get away with playing any of these games without dice, so please check out Canada Dice, our wonderful dice affiliate, who has a similar link now appearing, I assume, if somebody's doing that on my behalf, in the stream. And finally, we have an affiliate link for you to peruse these wonderful offerings in the World of Darkness from Renegade Game Studios. It does not have a discount, but if you support them by paying full price using that link, you'll also be supporting us in the progress. And the games they produce outside of World of Darkness and those within are absolutely wonderful. They're well worth checking out, and we encourage any and all of you to at least peruse those offerings using that link for us in the chat. Thank you all for being here with us once again. We will be filming and airing Chapter 5, picking up this interesting thing. Oh, there's one more. Yeah, you do it. Yeah.
Last but not least, we have our brand new paint sponsor for the year, and that is going to be Last Hope Shades. You can pick up all their paints and all their 3D miniatures, and they're giving us a massive discount of 40% by using the code Misfit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm off to check that out. We'll see you all in 2 weeks in Portland on Tabletop Misfits.
And Sisu says night.
Bye, Sisu. Bye, everybody.
Bye.